Chapter 311. Although he couldn't completely transform into a dragon, Xiaoling Yu was still very satisfied with the medicinal effects of the coiling dragon pill. In the following 30 years, Xiaoling Yu still didn't leave this simple cave dwelling. Instead, he continuously spat out balls of blood essence for the strange young beast to help him condense blood crystals. However, every time he spat out a ball of blood essence, Xiaoling Yu would need some time to recuperate and replenish before he could spit out another ball of blood essence. After all, a large portion of a cultivator's life essence and cultivation power were stored in their blood essence. No cultivator would dare to use too much blood essence in a short period of time. Xiaoling Yu was the same. If he didn't receive any nourishment, he wouldn't dare to continuously use his blood essence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wasted 30 years. After 30 years, Xiaoling Yu had only condensed a dozen or so blood crystals. After storing these blood crystals into his body, Xiaoling Yu stood up and walked out of the secret room. Then, he aimed at the transportation formation of the southern sea continent and flew at full speed. I don't know where Rankai escaped to. He used so much blood essence in such a short period of time. He'll probably need a long time to recuperate. What should I do? Xiaoling Yu was very hesitant as he waited for the transportation formation. He felt a little lost and didn't know what to do. I should first search through the continents near the Blood Moon continent. After all, Zhu Jin and the others' route has already been arranged. It won't be too late to chase after them after some time. After making up his mind, Xiaoling Yu entered the transportation formation. Xiaoling Yu and Rankai had already been to the Crimson Water continent and the Northern Sea continent. Naturally, he wouldn't go to these two continents. Instead, he teleported to other continents. However, what made Xiaoling Yu depressed was that his cultivation was still too low. After searching through 7 continents, he only found one target. For Xiaoling Yu to find a target, it was natural that the target's cultivation was lower than his. Even the mysterious devil stage cultivators who were much higher than him were not his match. Cultivators who were lower than him were simply powerless in front of him. It would be great if Rankai was here. With his early Devil Lord realm, he should be able to find a lot more. Moreover, what he can find just happens to be what we can deal with. It would be difficult for the two of us to deal with those with a higher realm than him. Xiaoling Yu suddenly thought of Rankai's benefits. Right now, Rankai was nowhere to be found, and Xiaoling Yu's communication pearl was unable to send messages across star fields. It was almost impossible to find Rankai again. It would be very difficult for Xiaoling Yu to find the target alone. But even so, Xiaoling Yu still had to continue. After a few turns, he arrived at a continent of the Devil Realm called the Luhong continent. In the sky of Luhong continent, numerous rays of light could frequently be seen tearing through the horizon like shooting stars chasing after the moon, and they flashed before vanishing. Sometimes, one could even see large expanses of flowing clouds that were like surging rivers, and they flickered with dazzling rays of light as they surged over. The area of the Luhong continent was slightly smaller than the Northern Sea continent, and the overall strength of the cultivators was not much worse than the Northern Sea continent. After Xiaoling Yu arrived at the Luhong continent, he first sensed for a while. He did not expect that he would actually sense 2 targets. Moreover, the distance between the 2 targets seemed to be shrinking. After sensing carefully, he realized that one of the targets was actually approaching the other. Since it was a target that he could sense, its strength was definitely far inferior to his. Therefore, Xiaoling Yu had nothing to worry about and directly flew over. In just 2 days, Xiaoling Yu was already less than 5,000 kilometers away from the target. The target that he was rapidly approaching was the one that had not changed its position all this time, and the other target was only 5,000 kilometers away. The other target was originally much further away from here than the teleportation formation that Xiaoling Yu was at before, but the two had arrived at the same time. It was clear that the other target was moving faster than Xiaoling Yu. How can it be so fast? Xiaoling Yu was a little surprised. With Xiaoling Yu's current speed, it was likely that only cultivators above the middle mystic demon stage could surpass him. Yet, Shaolin Yu could sense the other party, which proved that the other party's realm was definitely inferior to Shaolin Yu's. How could he not be suspicious? It was also because of this suspicion that Shaolin Yu did not directly attack the target's location. Instead, he completely concealed his aura and quietly advanced. After nearly 2 hours, Shaolin Yu finally arrived in front of a mountain range and saw a majestic mountain gate. Thousand Rainbow Sect. Looking at the 3 flamboyant characters engraved on the mountain gate from afar, Shaolin Yu frowned. His target was actually a Devil Sect disciple. At this time, the other target was not far from here, so Shaolin Yu casually found a mountain peak near the Thousand Rainbow Sect's encampment and stood there, observing with his mind. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the other target, who had also slowed down, also arrived in front of the Thousand Rainbow Sect's mountain gate. So there's an expert helping them. No wonder they're so fast. Seeing the 2 people not far from the Thousand Rainbow Sect, Shaolin Yu revealed a relieved smile. He used his mind to spy on the 2 people. One of them was at the late Mystic Demon stage, while the other was only at the late True Demon stage. The late True Demon stage cultivator was the target that Shaolin Yu could sense. The 2 people only stood in front of the Thousand Rainbow Sect's gate for a moment, then directly walked over and were stopped by 2,000 Rainbow Sect's guards. Although the 2 guards were very polite, the late Mystic Demon stage expert waved his hand and shot out 2 rays of black light, ending the lives of the 2 Devil King stage guards. Killing without blinking an eye, and killing without looking for a reason, was a description of such a person. The 2 people directly entered the Thousand Rainbow Sect's encampment. Then, the late Mystic Demon stage expert killed everyone he saw. None of his subordinates were a match for him. This Thousand Rainbow Sect was at most equivalent to a second-rate sect in the Blood Moon continent. Naturally, it was difficult for them to withstand the attack of a late-stage Profound Demon Realm expert. Although a Profound Demon Realm expert was dispatched in the end, that Profound Demon Realm expert was only at the middle stage of the Profound Demon Realm. In just a single exchange, he was heavily injured and lost his life. With the death of the Thousand Rainbow Sect's strongest expert, the other Thousand Rainbow Sect disciples could only stretch out their necks to be slaughtered. This was a completely one-sided massacre. In the Devil world, such massacres were common. The weak had no protection at all. Whoever was stronger had the right to kill. Even someone like Shaolin Yu, who wasn't a very vicious person, could now casually kill people, let alone those Devil Dao cultivators who were originally very cruel. From the time the 2 people entered the Thousand Rainbow Sect to the time when only 1 person was left alive, less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea had passed. The only person left alive was also Shaolin Yu's target. He was only at the late True Demon stage. The late True Demon stage expert who came with the late Mystic Demon stage expert didn't absorb the other party's life essence. Instead, the late Mystic Demon stage expert began to search the Thousand Rainbow Sect disciples' soul. It seems that they also haven't figured it out. Shaolin Yu stroked his chin and pondered. After the late Mystic Demon stage expert searched the soul, he didn't seem to get the answer he wanted. After a slight hesitation, he waved his hand and slapped. "Wait!" Shaolin Yu immediately shouted. His voice contained his power, causing the mountains to tremble. The late Mystic Demon stage expert immediately stopped and pulled the late True Demon stage expert back a step. He stared at Shaolin Yu with great vigilance. When a late Mystic Demon stage expert attacked a late True Demon stage expert, it was absolutely a one-hit kill. Moreover, it could directly make the other party vanish into thin air. This wasn't something Shaolin Yu wanted to see. In 2 flashes, Shaolin Yu appeared in the depths of the Thousand Rainbow Sect's encampment and slowly walked towards the 3 people opposite him. "Fellow Taoist, what advice do you have?" the late Mystic Demon stage expert asked with narrowed eyes. "It can't be considered advice. I just feel that fellow Taoist is truly awe-inspiring and decisive in slaughtering people in all directions and annihilating their entire sect." Shaolin Yu praised. The reason why he said this was to make it difficult for the other party to understand his intentions. Could it be that fellow Taoist is related to the Thousand Rainbow Sect? The late Mystic Demon stage expert asked again. Not at all, but, could I have a discussion with fellow Taoist? Shaolin Yu shook his head and said. What discussion? Because the late mystic demon stage expert couldn't see through Shaolin Yu's strength with his devil sense, he could only reply with words and didn't dare to attack. Could you leave this person to me? Shaolin Yu pointed at the remaining Thousand Rainbow sect disciple and asked. The late mystic demon stage expert hesitated for a moment. After weighing the pros and cons, he nodded and said, I'll give fellow Taoist face. The late mystic demon stage expert absolutely wouldn't be so rash to fight with a cultivator whose strength he didn't know, for the sake of a useless person. There's also that person beside you. I also want to leave him behind. I wonder if fellow Taoist can make it convenient. Shaolin Yu pointed at the person beside the late mystic demon stage expert and said. Is fellow Taoist playing with me? The late mystic demon stage expert said with slight anger. I'm not playing with you. It's just a discussion. If fellow Taoist doesn't agree, of course I don't agree. He's my son. How can I leave him behind just because you say so? The late mystic demon stage expert agitatedly cut off Shaolin Yu's words. If fellow Taoist doesn't agree. Before Shaolin Yu could finish speaking, he suddenly took a step forward and slapped out with his palm. Palm shadows that filled the sky immediately appeared. Like ghosts that filled the sky, they all pounced on the late mystic demon stage expert. Shaolin Yu's sudden attack caught the late mystic demon stage expert, who was still hesitating in his heart, somewhat off guard. He had been vigilant all along. The moment Shaolin Yu attacked, he waved his arm and flung his son far away. At the same time, a thick defensive light barrier appeared around his body. However, what the late mystic demon stage expert didn't expect was that the palm shadows that filled the sky seemed illusory, but actually possessed extremely strong offensive power. His defensive light barrier only lasted for less than a breath's time before it was broken. Without giving him any time to catch his breath, the other party once again slapped out countless palm shadows in his direction. Chapter 312. The black light was transformed from a top-grade demonic sword. In an instant, it arrived in front of Shaolin Yu. Shaolin Yu's expression didn't change in the slightest. A demon-suppressing immortal pearl flew out of his mouth and directly knocked the demonic sword far away. At the same time, the palm images that filled the sky slammed into the battle armor of the late profound demon expert. Although they failed to shatter the battle armor, a powerful force penetrated the battle armor in his body, directly affecting his soul and demonic nascent soul. Puff! The late-stage profound demon cultivator didn't expect that the demonic infant shattering palm could penetrate his top-grade demonic armor. After a round of bombardment, his soul was severely injured, and his demonic infant showed signs of collapse. He couldn't help but spit out a few mouthfuls of blood. At this time, he realized the terrifying strength of the person who had come. The other party was actually able to easily suppress him. Whether it was his offensive or defensive methods, they were not worth mentioning in front of the other party. Knowing the danger he was in, he took out a jade slip and crushed it while he was still alive. Just as he crushed the jade slip, the other party had already launched another attack. His demonic infant and soul couldn't hold on any longer and directly dissipated. His body also weakly fell to the ground. You actually killed my father. I'll fight you to the death. The late-stage true demon cultivator, who had been watching from outside the battlefield, immediately rushed over with a demonic sword when he saw his father die on the spot. Shaolin Yu, however, didn't move. When the other party came over, he leaned to the side and grabbed the other party's shoulder, imprisoning him with his primal chaos demonic power. Your father can annihilate the entire sect, but can't I kill him? You should know that those who kill will be killed by others. After Shaolin Yu indifferently replied, the primal chaos demonic power he poured into the other party's body wrapped around the other party's life essence and returned to his own body. Senior, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for avenging my Thousand Rainbow sect. The remaining cultivator of the Thousand Rainbow sect hurriedly cupped his fists and thanked him. Don't thank me first. I'm not here to avenge you, nor to save you. In fact, I'm here to kill you. Xiaoling Yu shook his head and said, "Ah." When the cultivator heard this, he was stunned at first. Then he said, "My Thousand Rainbow sect has already been destroyed. There's no point in me living alone. Even if Senior doesn't want to avenge us, our enemies were killed by Senior. I don't have anything to repay Senior. I only have this life. If Senior wants it, take it." It's good that you think this way." Xiaoling Yu smiled and nodded. Then, he placed his hand on the other party's shoulder and drew out the life essence from his body. Although the cultivator was very good at talking, Xiaoling Yu did not have any intention of being lenient. In this devil world, talking was not enough. After incinerating the corpses in the surroundings, he flew up again and headed towards the teleportation array of the Luhong continent. Xiaoling Yu had also seen the scene of that late-stage mystic demon expert crushing the Jade Strip. He knew that the Jade Strip would definitely be able to summon experts, so he didn't dare to stay any longer. He only wanted to leave the Luhong mainland as soon as possible. But what he didn't expect was that before he even reached the teleportation array, he had already discovered that someone was chasing after him. The speed of the approaching person was extremely fast. Not to mention Xiaoling Yu, even the early-stage Devil Monarch Rankai was much faster. He was constantly closing the distance between him and Xiaoling Yu. After another 100 breaths of time, the approaching person was already less than 100 feet away from Xiaoling Yu. "Thief, you want to leave after killing someone?" the approaching person shouted. The approaching person's voice was mixed with fluctuations of cultivation power. It actually caused the space to tremble slightly. It could be seen that this person's strength was tyrannical. Xiaoling Yu was not in the mood to answer this meaningless question. He only secretly cursed his bad luck. He actually encountered another Devil Monarch expert, and this Devil Monarch was most likely not at the early stage. But even if Xiaoling Yu did not answer, the other party was still chasing with all his strength. The short distance of 100 feet was crossed in just a breath's time, blocking Xiaoling Yu's path. Xiaoling Yu still did not stop. He had already held the silver moon broken blade in his hand. With a wave, a colorful firebird pounced out after a phoenix cry. The colorful firebird's body was not very large, but its body carried a mighty and unparalleled power. Wherever it passed, the space would fluctuate. Even if the other party was a Devil Monarch expert, he did not dare to underestimate the divine power of this divine weapon and immediately dodged. In terms of cultivation level, Xiaoling Yu was naturally unable to lock onto his opponent's attack. The firebird rushed forward for a long distance before automatically dissipating. Xiaoling Yu continued to move forward. After being stunned for a moment, the other party sped up and chased after him. "Scoundrel, this old man will not rest until you're dead." The angry roar of the Devil Monarch expert came from not far behind him. Xiaoling Yu only frowned and ignored it. He could guess that the two people he had just killed must have a deep relationship with this Devil Monarch. Not long after, the Devil Monarch blocked in front of Xiaoling Yu again. However, he was still scared away by the firebird that Xiaoling Yu slashed out with the silver moon broken blade. Before reaching the primal chaos void refinement stage, Xiaoling Yu's cultivation was only enough to slash out a colorful firebird. However, after reaching the primal chaos void refinement stage, there were more than 10 blood crystals in his body. He could almost slash out a colorful firebird without running out of energy. "Thief, let's see how long you can run." The person who came chased after him relentlessly and constantly cursed. Occasionally, the person who came would attack from behind, but Xiaoling Yu could block it with the 6 demon-suppressing immoral orbs. Although Xiaoling Yu wouldn't be able to hold on for too long, the towering figure of the Golden Rainbow City had already appeared not far away. That's right, Xiaoling Yu was preparing to escape into Lu Rainbow City. Under the situation of being chased, it was impossible for him to use the teleportation array to leave. Even if he could enter the teleportation array, as long as the other party kept shaking the teleportation array, he would not be able to activate the teleportation array to leave. Lu Rainbow City was the largest city in the Lu Rainbow continent. It also had a rule that prohibited fighting. Even if the other party was the Devil Monarch, he he would not dare to easily violate the rules set by the big shots of the Devil Realm or the top aristocratic families. If the other party dared to make a move in Lu Rainbow City and the experts guarding the city did not stop him, it would not be too late for Shaolin Yu to escape. When he flew to the entrance of Lu Rainbow City, Shaolin Yu released a powerful aura, causing the cultivators who were waiting in line to suddenly change their expressions and retreat one after another. Shaolin Yu, on the other hand, landed at the entrance and directly tossed a high-grade magic stone to the guard. Then, he slowly walked into Luong City. The Devil Monarch originally wanted to attack when Shaolin Yu landed, but his attack would definitely destroy the city gate. Moreover, it was very likely that he would injure the city guards, so he hesitated for a moment. It was also while he was hesitating that the target he was chasing had already entered the city, causing him to be extremely angry. The Devil Monarch landed at the entrance of the city and asked the guard, "Is the city lord in the city?" The guard was stunned for a moment, and after sensing the aura of the person who had arrived, he respectfully said, "Senior, how would this lowly one know the whereabouts of the city lord?" However, this lowly one knows that the Lord Commander is in the city right now. Hearing this, the Devil Monarch frowned slightly, and then he did not pay the entrance fee and directly swaggered into the city. The guards on both sides of the city gate naturally did not dare to obstruct him, but one of them took out a communication pearl and sent a message. Although the Devil Monarch did not dare to make a move in the city, he dared to spread out his devil sense. Because it was very rare to see a Devil Monarch in the city, his devil sense was naturally very difficult to be discovered. After releasing his devil sense, he found Shaolin Yu who had not gone too far, and then he quickly followed after her. The Devil Monarch only followed Shaolin Yu and did not make a move. Because from the chase and escape just now, he could see that Shaolin Yu's strength was not weak, and he did not have the confidence to kill her in a single strike, so he could not make a move. In this city, if he could not kill her in a single strike, and if they got tangled up in a fight, the city guards would definitely come to stop them. Even though he did not fear the city guards, he still found it troublesome. The two of them walked like this for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, and then a cultivator who seemed to be middle-aged suddenly blocked the Devil Monarch's path. "Ha, Brother Tao, how do you have the time to wander around Lu Rainbow City?" The middle-aged cultivator laughed loudly as he greeted. "What? Does Lu Rainbow City belong to your family? If others can come, why can't I?" The Devil Monarch who was chasing Shaolin Yu coldly replied. It was very obvious that the two of them knew each other, but their relationship was probably not very good. It's not that Brother Tao can't come, it's just that Brother Tao's pottery manor has such beautiful scenery, and Brother Tao has raised so many beautiful women at home, and there are also many juniors serving you. Wouldn't it be a waste of time to come to Lu Rainbow City? The middle-aged cultivator still had a smile on his face. "I don't have time to chat with you today." As Devil Monarch Tao spoke, he took a detour, wanting to continue chasing after Shaolin Yu. The middle-aged cultivator blocked Devil Monarch Tao's path again, and said with great sincerity, "Brother Tao, the two of us can be considered to have a bit of friendship. Since Brother Tao has come, how about I show you some hospitality and treat Brother Tao to a few drinks?" "No need." Devil Monarch Tao still did not give him face, and took a detour again. The middle-aged cultivator did not block him again, and only calmly said from behind, "Brother Tao, it's fine if you have something to do. However, I have to remind Brother Tao that this is Lu Rainbow City, and the city lord is in the city lord's mansion. If Brother Tao causes any trouble here, I'm afraid it will make things difficult for us old friends." Devil Monarch Tao's expression slightly changed, but he did not turn around, and only said, "Don't worry, even if I don't give you face, I will still give face to the city lord." The middle-aged cultivator looked at Devil Monarch Tao's back, and coldly snorted, "You better behave yourself, or you and your pottery manor will be removed from the Lu Rainbow continent." Although Shaolin Yu had been walking at a fast pace in front, he had clearly heard the conversation between the two. After confirming that Devil Monarch Tao was somewhat apprehensive, he naturally became more relaxed. After about 6 hours, Shaolin Yu finally arrived at the center of Lu Rainbow City, and saw the city lord's mansion. Originally, he was prepared to go to a restaurant beside the city lord's mansion, but after seeing the bounty hunter branch building opposite the city lord's mansion, he changed his mind and directly walked into the bounty hunter branch building in Lu Rainbow City. Chapter 313. After walking around the hall on the first floor of the bounty hunter branch, Xiaoling Yu arrived in front of the counter. "Is there anything I can help you with?" The beautiful female cultivator behind the counter politely asked Xiaoling Yu. "I want to issue a mission," Xiaoling Yu calmly replied. "What mission?" "Let me record it for you," the female cultivator asked again. "I'm currently being chased by a demon monarch. I want to ask the bounty hunter branch to dispatch an expert to help me block that demon monarch. As long as I can leave the Luhong continent through the transportation formation, the mission will be considered complete," Xiaoling Yu said in a deep voice after thinking for a moment. "Demon monarch?" The female cultivator seemed a little surprised. "Yes, the demon monarch. Can't you issue this mission?" Xiaoling Yu nodded and asked. "You can issue it, but..." The female cultivator clearly hadn't recovered from her shock. "But what?" Xiaoling Yu asked again. "But there may not be anyone who dares to accept this mission. Currently, I haven't heard of any senior hunters coming to the Luhong continent. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for anyone to accept your mission in a short period of time," the female cultivator said with a troubled expression. This mission doesn't have a time limit. I can wait in Luhong City for a while longer," Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. "In that case, I can issue this mission for you. However, to invite a senior hunter branch bounty hunter to take action, you will need at least 1,000 demonic crystals as a reward. There are 1,500 demonic crystals here. That should be enough, right?" Before the female cultivator could finish speaking, Xiaoling Yu had already thrown a storage pouch onto the counter. The female cultivator carefully held the storage pouch in her hand and used her demonic sense to examine it. She nodded and said, "Your mission will appear on the wall in a moment. Please wait a moment." Then, the female cultivator took out a jade tablet and placed it on the counter, saying, "Please leave a strand of your soul imprint here. If a senior hunter accepts the mission, your soul imprint will be transferred to his communication magic treasure. At that time, he will be able to contact you and help you safely leave the Luhong continent." Xiaoling Yu nodded and sent a strand of her soul imprint into the jade token. Then, she left the counter and waited quietly in the hall. Not long after, Xiaoling Yu saw her mission appear on the left wall. She was very satisfied when she saw the bounty hunters in the hall pointing at her mission. Demon Monarch Tao had also seen the mission, so his face was ashen. He had never expected his opponent to come up with such a plan. In the eyes of Demon Lord Tao, this was a bad plan, but to Xiaoling Yu, who did not want to waste blood crystals, this was definitely the best choice. After smiling at Demon Lord Tao, Xiaoling Yu walked out of the bounty hunter branch and headed towards the restaurant beside the city lord's mansion. Generally speaking, the largest restaurant next to the city lord's mansion was the property of the city lord's mansion. It was absolutely safe to eat and drink there. As for the price of the restaurant, Xiaoling Yu did not care at all. In any case, the devil stones on her were stolen from others. When he arrived at the restaurant, Xiaoling Yu didn't choose a private room. Instead, he casually found a seat in the hall on the first floor and sat down. He ordered a few dishes that weren't too cheap or too expensive and leisurely enjoyed himself. Although Demon Lord Tao was infuriated, he could only suppress the anger in his heart. He also found a seat and ordered some dishes. After eating and drinking, Xiaoling Yu went to the tea house. After that, she went to a few material stores to purchase materials that could help her transform her body. In short, Xiaoling Yu wandered around in crowded places and did not stray too far from the city lord's mansion. Furthermore, she was always on guard, not giving Demon Lord Tao any chance to kill her. What Xiaoling Yu did not expect was that her communication pearl had already started vibrating after she had wandered around the city for less than a day. She sank her consciousness into it to take a look. Someone had indeed accepted her mission. In order to restrain a Demon Lord expert, the bounty hunter who accepted the mission had to be at least at the early stage of the Demon Lord realm. once one's strength reached the Demon Lord realm, they would be considered a hunting king in the ranking of the bounty hunter organization. It was rare to see a hunting king in the ordinary demon realm continent. Therefore, Xiaoling Yu was very happy that someone had accepted her mission so early. After all, 1,500 devil crystals should not be considered a generous reward for a hunting king. After replying to the message, Xiaoling Yu walked toward the bounty hunter branch. Demon Lord Tao naturally followed closely behind her. When she reached the hall on the first floor of the branch, Xiaoling Yu sent another message, explaining her location and characteristics. Not long after, a middle-aged cultivator walked over. "You are the employer, right?" the middle-aged cultivator asked Xiaoling Yu. "That's right." Xiaoling Yu nodded. "Please exchange the code word," the middle-aged cultivator said again. "The fragrance of falling flowers, the flowing water traceless," Xiaoling Yu replied. "That's right." "When do you plan to leave the Luhong continent?" the middle-aged cultivator asked again. "The sooner the better," Xiaoling Yu replied. "Then let's do it now." The middle-aged cultivator seemed to be a straightforward person. He immediately led Xiaoling Yu toward the city gate. Just as they reached the edge of the plaza in front of the city lord's mansion, Demon Lord Tao suddenly blocked Xiaoling Yu and Xiaoling Yu's path. He said to the middle-aged cultivator angrily, "You want to protect her and leave the Luhong continent?" "Brother Tao, I'm a bounty hunter. Can I accept a mission?" the middle-aged cultivator asked with a smile. Xiaoling Yu recognized this middle-aged cultivator at first glance. When she had just entered the city, this person had blocked Demon Lord Tao. "Of all the missions you could have accepted, you just had to accept this one. Are you deliberately making things difficult for me?" Demon Lord Tao asked angrily. "Brother Tao, I don't need you to care about what mission I accept, right? You also know that even a hunting king has to complete a mission every once in a while. I'm in charge of Luhong City's city guards and am usually very busy. I don't have the time to leave the city to do missions. Now that there's such a simple mission for me to use to make up the numbers, why wouldn't I accept it?" the middle-aged cultivator said with a cold smile. It turned out that this middle-aged cultivator was the city guard commander of Luhong City, an expert who had reached the Demon Lord realm. "Do you know that this person killed my nephew and grandson?" Demon Lord Tao asked with a glare. "I'm only in charge of accepting missions. As for what the employer has done in the past, it has nothing to do with me," the middle-aged cultivator replied indifferently. "Humph. Since that's the case, let's leave the city and see who's the real deal," Demon Lord Tao said hatefully. The last time I sparred with Brother Tao should have been 30,000 years ago. I wonder if Brother Tao is still as powerful as before after 30,000 years. Today, I'll have a taste of it." The middle-aged cultivator laughed fearlessly. "You!" The corner of Demon Lord Tao's mouth twitched a few times. Then, with a flick of his long sleeve, he strode toward the city gate without any intention of wasting his breath. After leaving the city, Xiaoling Yu and Demon Lord Tao discovered that Demon Lord Tao was already standing in the air above the teleportation array with a grave and stern expression. "Sir, please wait for the teleportation. If an accident happens, I'll help you," the middle-aged cultivator said to Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu didn't say much. After nodding, she slowly walked to the side of the teleportation array and waited for the teleportation with many other cultivators. At this time, almost all the cultivators at the teleportation array square were staring at Demon Lord Tao in the air above the teleportation array, not understanding what was going on. Many of the cultivators who weren't in a hurry to leave could feel that there was something wrong with the aura fluctuations on Demon Lord Tao's body. They could guess that an accident might happen in a while, so these cultivators didn't continue waiting for the teleportation array. Instead, they hurriedly left the group and walked to the city gate. Originally, they needed to wait for 2 hours, but because many cultivators had already left, only 15 minutes passed before it was Xiaoling Yu's turn to be teleported. Naturally, Demon Lord Tao wouldn't give Xiaoling Yu the chance to teleport away. He immediately shook the teleportation array, causing it to temporarily lose its effect. Then, he suddenly descended and slapped his palm at Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu's expression remained unchanged. She didn't even try to dodge. Instead, she waved her hand and sent a chaotic demonic seal into the sky. The chaotic demonic seal completely dispersed the opponent's palm wind. However, when it exploded, it also shook the mountains and the earth. Before Demon Lord Tao could attack again, the middle-aged cultivator had already leaped into the air. He held a black spear and stabbed it at Demon Lord Tao. Disciple of the Tao family, what are you waiting for? End this thief! Demon Lord Tao shouted. Then, a pair of iron hooks appeared in his hands and blocked the middle-aged cultivator's spear. Just as Demon Lord Tao shouted, several mystic demon cultivators surrounded Xiaoling Yu. Look, the Grand Commander is making a move. Brothers, the Grand Commander is definitely going to kill the enemies of Lu Rainbow City. Everyone, attack together. Without the middle-aged cultivator's command, the city guard experts who had rushed over after hearing the news all rushed forward. It wasn't that these city guard experts didn't know what was going on, but that they wanted to show off in front of their Grand Commander. You actually mobilized the city guards for your own mission. Demon Lord Tao said angrily after forcing the middle-aged cultivator to retreat. I didn't ask them to help. They did it willingly, the middle-aged cultivator replied with a smile. You've gone too far. Demon Lord Tao and the middle-aged cultivator started fighting again. On the other side, a large number of city guard experts rushed over. The Tao family disciples were unable to deal with them and could only retreat as they fought. Soon, they were slaughtered out of the teleportation array plaza. Xiaoling Yu didn't make a move. He waited for the city guards and Tao family experts to retreat before walking towards the teleportation array. However, just as he reached the teleportation array's entrance, Demon Lord Tao took the middle-aged cultivator's attack head-on and shot a black beam of light at Xiaoling Yu. Although Xiaoling Yu didn't sense any powerful energy fluctuations from the black beam of light, he still dodged to the side. However, his cultivation realm was inferior to Demon Lord Tao's. Demon Lord Tao could lock onto his attacks and his dodging was useless. Sensing that the black beam of light was still chasing after him, Xiaoling Yu suddenly stopped and threw out the chaotic demonic seal that he had formed. Chapter 314. Not good. Xiaoling Yu cried out in alarm. However, in the next moment, he discovered that the black light had only disappeared from his body in an instant and did not cause him any harm. After a careful examination, Xiaoling Yu did not find any abnormalities with his body, which made him even more suspicious. Demon Monarch Tao had taken the middle-aged cultivator's attack head-on and released a black stream of light. How could it not have any offensive power? He definitely didn't do this to scare me. There must be something wrong with that black stream of light. However, it's best to leave the Luhong mainland as soon as possible. As long as I teleport once, Demon Monarch Tao will not be able to find me again. Thinking up to this point, Xiaoling Yu stepped into the teleportation array. As for Demon Monarch Tao, who had just taken the middle-aged cultivator's attack head-on, it was impossible for him to activate the teleportation array at this juncture. First, there was a flash of white light, followed by a rumble. After the teleportation array trembled slightly, Xiaoling Yu disappeared from the teleportation array. The mission is complete. I won't spar with Brother Tao. If Brother Tao has the time, you can come to the city to have some tea with me. When the middle-aged cultivator saw that Xiaoling Yu had successfully left, he laughed and flew towards Luhong City. When he reached the city gates, he shouted, "All city guards, quickly return to the city." Although Demon Monarch Tao was trembling with anger, there was nothing he could do. Although his Tao clan was considered one of the top aristocratic clans in the Luhong mainland, he did not dare to offend the Luhong City's city lord's estate. He himself did not dare to kill these city guards and could only watch as all the city guards and the middle-aged cultivator retreated back into the city. However, after the teleportation array plaza fell silent, Demon Monarch Tao suddenly revealed a cold smile. As he walked toward the teleportation array, he muttered, "You'd better not let me meet you on a continent. Otherwise, As soon as he finished speaking, Demon Monarch Tao activated the teleportation array and teleported away. After the first teleportation, Shaolin Yu did not stop. Instead, he teleported a few more times. However, he did not leave the Blood Moon mainland. Not continuing to move, Shaolin Yu randomly found a quiet place on a continent and meditated in seclusion for a while. Only when he had recovered to his peak condition did he stop his seclusion and fly towards the teleportation array of this continent. Just as she entered the teleportation array, Shaolin Yu suddenly realized that there was a layer of black light shining on her body. No matter how he tried to suppress it, the black light could not be retracted, but it did not affect him in the slightest. Although she was surprised, Shaolin Yu still activated the teleportation portal. Just before the teleportation formation's white light flashed, Shaolin Yu saw Demon Lord Tao standing in the sea of people at the teleportation formation plaza. Why is he here? As soon as Shaolin Yu asked this question, the teleportation array was activated. After the teleportation, Shaolin Yu arrived at another Devil Realm continent, and the black light around her body disappeared. As soon as she walked out of the teleportation array, Shaolin Yu had already sensed that her target was on this continent. However, he was not in a hurry to act. Instead, he continued to wait at the teleportation plaza. As Shaolin Yu had expected, it didn't take long for Demon Monarch Tao to appear at the teleportation array plaza of this continent. Demon Lord Tao did not notice Shaolin Yu. After he walked out of the teleportation array, he immediately formed a hand seal and chanted an incantation. Black light immediately overflowed from Shaolin Yu's body. After Demon Lord Tao stopped his hand seals and incantations, he narrowed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while before looking in Shaolin Yu's direction. However, at this moment, Shaolin Yu was already in the teleportation array. Before Demon Lord Tao could make a move, the teleportation array flashed with white light, and Shaolin Yu's body suddenly disappeared. The black light that old man shot into my body is actually a tracking technique. After the teleportation ended, Shaolin Yu's expression was a little gloomy. He had spent 1,500 demonic crystals to escape the Luhong continent, but he still could not shake off Demon Lord Tao's pursuit. However, that old man's tracking technique seems to only be effective when we are on the same continent. If I keep teleporting and am not on the nearby continents, it will be very difficult for him to find me. After Shaolin Yu guessed this, he felt a little more relaxed. However, those with the Demon Sovereign's life imprint are mostly on the nearby continents. If I go too far away, I will lose many opportunities. Shaolin Yu hesitated again. Let's go. That Demon Lord Tao should be a mid-stage Demon Lord. Even if I use the formless gigantic demon art, I probably won't be able to defeat him. Moreover, if I keep wandering around here, it will be very dangerous if I am targeted by a Demon Lord expert with the Demon Sovereign's life imprint and is killed. After deciding on his plan, Shaolin Yu once again entered the teleportation array and began to head east of the demon world. Regarding the Demon Sovereign, it was all Rankai's words alone. Shaolin Yu might not believe it in his heart. After all, he had not yet felt that the life imprint in his body was harmful to him. Another point was that 1,000,000 years might not be a long time to others, but to Shaolin Yu, 1,000,000 years was really too long. Even if what Rankai said was true, Shaolin Yu also felt that it was very likely that he would possess the strength of a Demon Sovereign within 1,000,000 years. When that time came, everything would be easily solved. Actually, Shaolin Yu's choice was very correct. Since Rankai could obtain the Demon Sovereign's life imprint, it proved that other Demon Lords could also obtain it. Moreover, they were on the same continent, and Shaolin Yu was unable to sense the existence of targets with a higher realm than him. It was very likely that he would become the target of a Demon Lord expert. Just because he did not encounter them before, it did not mean that he would not encounter them later. It was very likely that those Demon Lords had not figured out what was going on with the bloody light on their bodies. Once they figured it out, they would definitely be like Shaolin Yu and Rankai. Taking 10,000 steps back, Shaolin Yu could be very lucky and not encounter any targets stronger than him, but he would have to wait 1,000,000 years, or wait for the cultivator with the Demon Sovereign's soul consciousness to appear and not kill him. Firstly, he could not wait that long, and secondly, he could not kill the person with the Demon Sovereign's soul consciousness, so it was better for him to leave first. Xiaoling Yu had previously instructed Zhu Jin, Xiao Liang, and the other higher-ups of the Heavenly Bandits to advance east of the demon world while doing business. The general route had also been agreed upon, so Xiaoling Yu could easily find the Heavenly Bandits. After leaving the Blood Moon continent, Xiaoling Yu was actually very safe, so every time he arrived at a continent in the demon world, he would send a message to Zhu Jin and the others. If there was no reply, he would continue to teleport. After continuously teleporting for 2 years, Xiaoling Yu finally arrived at the Heavenly Bandits from a continent in the demon world called the White Bone Continent. The White Bone Continent was not a prosperous continent, and the entire continent was crisscrossed with ravines. The power of the demon spirit was very violent, and there was a terrifying murderous aura wreaking havoc everywhere. Therefore, there were much fewer cultivators here than on other continents, but the cultivators here were obviously not ordinary. It was said that the White Bone Continent was a battlefield in ancient times. At that time, immortals, Buddhas, gods, and devils fought fiercely here, causing the continent to be riddled with holes. After those ancient experts died, their bodies turned into murderous aura, and their minds turned into evil spirits, wreaking havoc on this continent all year round, until now. Since it was a battlefield in ancient times, and since many ancient experts died here, there must be treasures left behind by the ancient experts. Many cultivators in the demon world thought so, so even if the environment here was bad, many cultivators in the demon world came here to search for treasures. However, countless years had passed, and there were very few cultivators who could obtain treasures here. On the other hand, the number of cultivators who died here kept increasing. Not to mention that piles of bones could be seen everywhere, but if one kept flying above the ground, they would definitely see some broken bones every once in a while. That was how the name of the White Bone Continent came about. On this demon world continent, there was no one to control the order at all. The weak could not survive here for a long time. Why did you stop on this continent? After finding the Heavenly Bandits in a rift valley, Xiaoling Yu frowned and asked Zhu Jin and the others. We came here half a year ago. We were going to leave as soon as we came, but it just so happened that a treasure appeared here at that time. You didn't stay here to snatch the treasure, did you? Xiaoling Yu interrupted before Zhu Jin could finish speaking. Although we wanted to snatch the treasure here, we gave up at that time considering our strength. However, other experts thought that there was a treasure here. In order to prevent other experts from coming from the outside to fight for it, they sealed the teleportation formation, so we couldn't leave. Zhu Jin shook his head and explained. The teleportation formation has been opened. Why haven't you left yet? Xiaoling Yu asked again. The teleportation formation was opened a month ago. The reason why we didn't leave is that we have a clue about the treasure, so we want to wait for the first master to come and take us to get the treasure. Xiao Liang continued. That treasure still has no owner? Xiaoling Yu asked in surprise. Indeed, it has no owner, and it has hidden. Half a year ago, it broke out of the ground and caused a huge commotion. At that time, almost all the experts on the White Bone Continent rushed over to fight for it. They fought until the sky was dark and the earth was dark. There were countless casualties, but no one could control the treasure. In the end, the treasure flew away on its own and hid. Because of the fierce large-scale fighting, the cultivators here hated each other. Many cultivators with low cultivation or who were seriously injured and wanted to leave the White Bone Continent joined forces to attack the teleportation formation. That was why the teleportation formation was closed and open to the public. After all, half a year has passed, and no one has found any trace of the treasure. There is no need to seal the teleportation formation. Zhu Jin nodded and explained. What do you mean by having a clue about the treasure? Since you have a clue, why don't you just go and get it? Why wait for me? Xiaoling Yu continued to ask. Chapter 315. Are you sure that you're the only ones who know about that clue? Xiaoling Yu asked cautiously. I'm not sure, but there definitely aren't many people who know about it. Zhu Jin paused for a moment before replying. There's no need for too many people to know about it. As long as they're all experts, they'll bring us great danger. Xiao Lingyu rubbed his nose and said, "Boss, are you planning to give up on this opportunity?" Xiao Liang seemed to have heard the hint in Xiao Lingyu's words and asked with a bit of disappointment. Not only Xiao Liang, but even the other mysterious demon stage cultivators' faces, which were originally filled with joy because of the arrival of the boss, had now disappeared. Robbery was a risk, so was seizing treasures. In any case, everyone was in a risky business. As long as there was profit, these robbers wouldn't easily give up. I'm not saying that I'm giving up. I'm just considering whether it's worth it for us to take this risk. Are you sure that the treasure will be useful to us? Can you be sure that there aren't a large number of mysterious demon stage or demon lord stage evil spirits at the location of the treasure? Xiao Lingyu shook his head and replied, "That treasure will definitely be useful to us. Although we haven't seen that treasure before, according to the people who saw it at the time, it's definitely a demon treasure. It's just that we can't be sure if the location of the treasure is somewhere we can go." Sujin interrupted. "There are countless capable people on this white bone continent. If we have clues about the treasure, others might also have them. We seem to have a lot of people, but as long as we encounter a demon lord stage cultivator or evil spirit, I'm afraid that we'll suffer a great loss. There are some things that I think it's not too late to investigate before taking action. Even if we're robbers, we should plan before taking action." Xiao Lingyu calmly said. "Boss, you mean, we should investigate first?" Xiao Liang thought for a moment before asking. "That's right. We must investigate. Even if we can't investigate clearly, we must at least investigate roughly." Xiao Lingyu nodded in response. "Okay, I'll send some people over," Zhu Jin said enthusiastically. "Find some smart brothers. If there's any danger, immediately retreat. It's best not to let other cultivators notice." Xiao Lingyu instructed. "Understood." Zhu Jin replied and left after receiving the order. Next, Xiao Lingyu and the Heavenly Bandits' upper echelons discussed the route forward and the strategy for future robberies. About half a month had passed. Although the brothers Zhu Jin had sent out had returned with a lot of useful information, they had also brought a guest to the heaven-smiting bandit group. Before we cooperate, I want to know. How did you find this place?" Xiao Lingyu asked with a smile. "There are so many people outside. I can easily find this place by following one of them. With my cultivation, it's not difficult at all." Tuo Bahanlai replied. "There's only one treasure. If we cooperate and successfully obtain the treasure, who will it belong to?" Xiao Lingyu asked again. "Let's appraise the treasure first. If one of us obtains the treasure, we'll give half of the treasure's value to the other party. How about that?" Tuo Bahanlai said in a seemingly fair manner. This suggestion sounds very fair, but if we want that treasure, we really can't take out that many magic stones. When the time comes, it's inevitable that there will be a dispute." Xiao Lingyu shook his head and smiled. Xiao Lingyu knew that the person who came must have a lot of magic stones. He also expected that the Heavenly Bandits didn't have many magic stones. The other party said that he was here to cooperate, but in reality, he was here to hire the Heavenly Bandits to be his hired thugs. "Then, Great Master, do you have any good suggestions?" Tuo Bahanlai asked. "Actually, according to the information that our brothers have gathered, our bandit group doesn't have enough strength to get our hands on the treasure. We're already preparing to leave the White Bone Continent." Xiao Lingyu said calmly. "You're leaving?" Tuo Bahanlai frowned slightly. "The treasure's hiding place is very dangerous. Not only will the dense evil qi corrode the cultivators' bodies, but the evil spirits inside are also very powerful. Our bandit group doesn't even have a demon lord expert. If we go in rashly, I'm afraid that we'll be wiped out before we even see the shadow of the treasure. It's better to leave now so that the treasure won't suddenly fly out and cause a large-scale battle and affect us." Xiao Lingyu explained in a low voice. "Great Master is very open-minded. With such a precious treasure in front of you, you're still not tempted. I'm impressed." Tuo Bahanlai waved his fist and praised. It's not that I'm not tempted. It's just that I'm not strong enough and don't want to die. Xiaoling Yu shook his head. To tell you the truth, I'm determined to get the treasure, but the strength of one person is still a little shallow, so I want to ask for some help. Tuo Bahanlai seemed to be honest. That's why you came to us. Xiaoling Yu added. He could understand why Tuo Bahanlai came to the Heavenly Bandits. First, the Heavenly Bandits had many people and their strength was not weak. Second, there was no demon lord in the Heavenly Bandits. If they really got the treasure, Tuo Bahanlai would not have to worry about it being snatched away by his own helpers. Great Master, if you have any conditions, just say it. As long as I can meet them, I won't refuse. Tuo Bahanlai said generously. We'll be taking a big risk this time. Xiaoling Yu seemed to be in a difficult position. You're only going to help this time. We're not asking you to take risks or fight to the death. I'll be in front of you. If even I can't handle it, and you feel that it's too dangerous, you can retreat at any time. Tuo Bahanlai smiled sincerely. If that's the case, as long as the reward is high enough, we can accompany you. Xiaoling Yu said with satisfaction. How much do you want? Let's hear it first. Tuo Bahanlai followed. It doesn't need too much. Just 100,000 demonic crystals will do. Xiaoling Yu thought for a while and gave a price that he thought was very high. In fact, under normal circumstances, it was very difficult for an early-stage demon lord cultivator to take out 100,000 demonic crystals. Okay, we'll do as Great Master says. To Xiaoling Yu's surprise, Tuo Bahanlai agreed without hesitation. He then placed a storage pouch on the table and said, there are 30,000 demonic crystals here. Take it as a deposit. If we successfully complete the mission, I'll hand over the remaining 70,000 demonic crystals with both hands. Xiaoling Yu first checked the amount of demonic crystals in the storage pouch. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he put it away and added, if we feel that it's too dangerous, or if you decide to withdraw, we won't refund the deposit. Tuo Bahanlai hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, no problem. From Tuo Bahanlai's attitude, Xiaoling Yu could guess that the treasure was absolutely extraordinary. It was at least a top-grade demon artifact. It might even be a divine artifact. Otherwise, Tuo Bahanlai wouldn't be so generous and straightforward. Then, when will fellow Taoists take action? Xiaoling Yu asked. Of course, the sooner the better. I'm afraid that something unexpected will happen if we delay. Since there aren't many experts who know the treasure's location, our chances of successfully obtaining the treasure are very high, Tuo Bahanlai said without hesitation. Then let's set off now. Xiaoling Yu stood up and smiled. Naturally, Xiaoling Yu couldn't bring all the cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits with him. Only experts above the early-stage spirit demon realm would be enough. Those with lower cultivation wouldn't be of much use. They would only increase the number of casualties. Even so, the team of more than 100 people was too eye-catching. Xiaoling Yu and Tuo Bahanlai discussed for a moment and let everyone hurry on their way. They formed groups of 3 to 5 and didn't cause any trouble along the way. They just kept their heads down and hurried on. It only took them 3 days to reach a barren mountain. This barren mountain range was vast, and there were countless bare mountain peaks. The peaks were neither tall nor big and had different shapes. From afar, they looked like fossils of ferocious beasts. In other places, the evil spirit could only be seen occasionally. However, in these barren mountains, the evil spirit was like a cloud. As long as the wind blew, the evil spirit would roll wantonly. Even though they were standing outside of the barren mountain, they could clearly hear the roars of the evil spirits and demonic creatures coming from within, causing them to shudder. Looking at the countless bones buried by the wind in the barren mountains, everyone's hearts were filled with fear. Anyone could see that this was definitely a dangerous place. Let's go. The treasure is in the depths of the barren mountains. We'll go there slowly. Try not to get entangled with those evil spirits. If we encounter one and can't kill it quickly, we'll move forward quickly and try to get rid of it. To deal with those evil spirits, it's best not to use physical attacks. It's most effective to use soul attacks, sound waves, deterrence, and other invisible attacks. After Tuo Bahamlai gave his instructions, he took the lead and walked into the depths of the barren mountains. He was immediately surrounded by the evil spirit. When the evil spirit surged, Tuo Bahamlai only needed to release his aura to disperse the evil spirit. The evil spirit in the periphery of the barren mountains was not much of a threat to cultivators at the early stage spirit demon realm and above. Therefore, Shaolin Yu didn't need to protect the others. Everyone calmly followed behind Tuo Bahamlai and moved forward slowly. If all goes well, with our current speed, we should be able to reach the treasure's location in 10 days. Everyone, don't be too anxious. Tuo Bahamlai continued to instruct as he led the way. Shaolin Yu and the others followed in silence. They were quite calm. Occasionally, the evil spirits would pounce on them, or the evil spirit that was too dense would be cleared away by Tuo Bahamlai. They didn't have to worry about anything and could maintain their peak condition. Chapter 316. Although Shaolin Yu didn't seem to have a high cultivation, he was actually not much weaker than an early-stage demon monarch. Moreover, he had many top-grade demon treasures with him. With him protecting the heavenly bandits and Tuo Bahamlai leading the way, everyone's journey was naturally very smooth. It only took them 12 days to arrive at their destination. They arrived outside a large valley surrounded by more than a dozen mountains. At this time, the evil chi was extremely dense. Everyone would consume a lot of energy if they stayed here for even a moment longer. The treasure is in this valley. It's not good to stay here for long. Everyone, adjust your state of mind. We'll set off in an hour. Tuo Bahamlai narrowed his eyes and observed for a while before instructing in a deep voice. Thus, everyone chose a place to sit down and meditate. At the same time, they fed themselves some elixirs. However, before an hour had passed, there was a sudden tremor all around. Then, a ray of demon light shot up from the valley and pushed away all the evil chi roaring in the valley. A vast and mighty shockwave accompanied by a torrential baleful aura swept over, causing the expressions of Shaolin Yu and the others to change abruptly. Oh no, everyone, get out of the way! In fact, when Tuo Bahamlai shouted this, all the heavenly bandits experts, including Shaolin Yu, had already retreated thousands of feet away. At the same time, they launched a collective attack against the evil chi and demon aura surging in front of them. The attacks launched by so many experts converged in an instant. Like a long rainbow, they split everything in front of them into two. The evil chi and demon aura flew away from the heavenly bandits' cultivators on both sides, causing them no harm. This was the power of a group. Although the heavenly bandits hadn't been together for long, they had experienced many battles during this time. With the experienced Xiao Liang's guidance and the astute Zhu Jin's cooperation and coordination, everyone naturally had a better understanding of each other. Thus, they were able to exert more and more combat power. As for Tuo Bahamlai, as a demon monarch expert who was determined to obtain the treasure, he naturally wouldn't be hurt by the evil chi and demon aura. However, Tuo Bahamlai's expression turned ugly when he saw two figures flying out of the valley along with the demonic light. Someone beat us to it. We can't wait any longer. Everyone, follow me. Tuo Bahamlai shouted and leaped into the air, flying into the air above the valley. All of you have to stay by my side. Let's stick together and be careful. Shaolin Yu didn't hesitate either. After giving some instructions, she followed Tuo Bahamlai into the valley. At this moment, the demonic light still did not dissipate. Like a sharp sword, it pierced into the sky and released waves of terrifying aura fluctuations. As for the two figures that were flying in the air, they fell back into the valley. It was obvious that the demonic light was released by the treasure. The two figures didn't fly up because they were chasing after the demonic treasure, but because they were shocked into the air by the aura released by the treasure. I'll go down and take a look. You guys stay nearby. If there's a fight and outsiders fly up, you can attack them together. Tuo Bahamlai transmitted his voice to Shaolin Yu, then descended into the valley from the air. Shaolin Yu could feel that the two cultivators in the valley were also demon monarchs. Therefore, even without Tuoba Honglai's instructions, he wouldn't easily get involved. Now that the three demon monarchs were fighting for the treasure below, the fight must be very fierce. If Xiaolingyu went down, he would most likely die on the spot if he was attacked by any of the two demon monarchs. After all, the demon monarchs below might not be only at the initial stage. Everything in the valley was covered by the dazzling demonic light. Xiaolingyu's realm was not high, so he couldn't see the situation below clearly. Fortunately, he didn't look and just waited quietly. In less than 100 breaths, two figures flew up. One of them was Tuoba Honglai. Xiaolingyu did not hesitate either. He immediately acted according to their previous agreement and attacked the other figure with the experts of the heaven-smiting bandit group. The other figure was also a demon monarch. The reason why he flew up was because he was pushed up by an irresistible aura. He was unable to stabilize his body, so how could he dodge the attacks of Xiaolingyu and the others? Just as the figure rose into the air, he was hit by the chaotic demonic seal and other attacks. Even though he had put up a defense, he was still blasted far away. Xiaolingyu was the same as the heavenly bandits' cultivators. Once he attacked, especially when he had the upper hand, he wouldn't easily stop. Take advantage of your weakness to take your life. Before the demon monarch could stabilize himself, Xiaolingyu and the 100 heavenly bandits' cultivators attacked together again. This time, they directly broke through the demon monarch's defense and seriously injured him. Stop! Don't fight yet! Tuoba Honglai finally stabilized himself and shouted anxiously. The demon monarch was already seriously injured. One more round of attacks would be enough to kill him. After all, there were too many heavenly bandits experts here. In addition, Xiaolingyu's attack power wasn't much weaker than an ordinary early-stage demon monarch. Moreover, the demon monarch didn't expect to be attacked by so many cultivators below the demon monarch level. It wouldn't be difficult for the heavenly bandits to kill him. Tuoba Honglai's shout made Xiaolingyu hesitate. However, Xiaolingyu didn't listen to Tuoba Honglai. Instead, he continued to order the heavenly bandits experts to attack the demon monarch. The sound of explosions continued to ring out. After the heaven-smiting bandit group had finished another round of attacks, the demon monarch had already been blasted to nothingness. In fact, this was the first time Xiaolingyu had seen the killing power of all the heavenly bandits experts when they attacked together. He was very satisfied and surprised that they could kill an early-stage demon monarch. Even if Xiaolingyu wasn't here, if these 100 heavenly bandits, spirit demons and mystical demons ambushed an early-stage demon monarch, it was very likely that they would be able to kill him. If it weren't for the heavenly bandits' strength, they wouldn't have dared to stay on the White Bone continent and get their hands on the treasure. Why did you kill him? Tuoba Honglai asked with a little dissatisfaction. We acted according to fellow Taoists' instructions. Fellow Taoists told us to stop just now. It was too late, Xiaolingyu calmly replied. At that time, Xiaolingyu could have stopped, but they had already severely injured the demon monarch. If they stopped, the demon monarch might not die, but who could guarantee that he wouldn't bear a grudge against the heavenly bandits? If he wasn't a magnanimous person, he would definitely take revenge on the heavenly bandits after the matter here was over. Xiaolingyu didn't want to provoke another demon monarch-level enemy for the heavenly bandits. Since they had already started and there was a chance to kill the other party, he would never stop. There is an even stronger demon monarch below. If that person didn't die, we could still deal with the demon monarch below. But now, Tuoba Honglai said gloomily. Could it be a late-stage demon monarch? Xiaolingyu asked with a frown. It should be. In any case, I can't see through his cultivation level. Tuoba Honglai nodded. Then, are we still going to snatch it? Xiaolingyu asked again. Snatch it? Of course, we have to snatch it. Don't worry, you just need to stay on the sidelines. We won't let you have a direct confrontation with the demon monarch. That treasure is currently very difficult to move. If he wants to take it, he will have to consume a lot of energy. Tuoba Honglai said firmly. Xiaolingyu didn't say anything else, but he secretly gave Xiao Liang and the other mysterious demon experts a meaningful glance, indicating that they should be ready to retreat at any time. If Xiaoling Yu used his formless gigantic demon art against an early-stage demon monarch, Xiaoling Yu would have no choice but to run away and barely protect himself against an early-stage demon monarch. As for a late-stage demon monarch, Xiaoling Yu felt that he wouldn't even have the chance to escape. However, Tuo Bahanglai was also an early-stage demon monarch, yet he looked very confident. This was why Xiaoling Yu dared to stay. He didn't believe that Tuo Bahanglai wasn't afraid of death. Tuo Bahanglai must have his own reasons for staying here. Moreover, 70,000 demon crystals wasn't a small amount. Even if Xiaoling Yu didn't care much about it, he still had to think about the heavenly bandits. After waiting for the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the demon light that had rushed up from the bottom of the valley suddenly disappeared. The dense baleful qi that had been pushed out of the valley rushed in like a torrent. Now! Tuo Bahanglai jumped down without a second thought. But a moment later, an even more powerful aura surged up from the bottom of the valley. Even Tuo Bahanglai couldn't resist this aura and was directly pushed high into the sky. Although Xiaoling Yu and the others were prepared for this, they were still caught off guard. More than 100 experts from the heaven-smiting bandit group were sent flying into the air along with Tuo Bahanglai. No one was able to stabilize themselves. This aura made Xiaoling Yu tremble a little. In the face of this aura, he felt that he wasn't even worth mentioning. The existence that could release this kind of aura had already surpassed the demon monarch realm and could easily crush him to death. After Xiaoling Yu stabilized himself, he found that there was another person around him. This person's cultivation was clearly much higher than his, but he also looked very miserable. However, the aura came and went suddenly. By the time everyone stabilized themselves, the aura had already disappeared. But then, a shocking scene appeared in the valley. A giant that was thousands of feet tall stood up from the depths of the valley. Behind the giant, there were a few broken wings that gently flapped. The giant's body was also riddled with holes and rotten flesh. One of his arms was gone, and only half of his head was left. Anyone who saw this would tremble in fear. The giant's remaining hand was holding a huge black cross-shaped sword. The huge sword was 5,000 feet long and 70 feet wide. At this moment, the giant's entire body was surrounded by a pitch-black radiance. It made the giant look very tall, like an ancient demon god. Did he come back to life? Xiaoling Yu said with a grave expression. Chapter 317. The giant sword in his hand, is that treasure? Xiaoling Yu asked with a frown. Yes. Tuo Bahanglai nodded solemnly. Xiaoling Yu felt very strange. He always felt that the giant sword should have belonged to the giant. The two were a perfect match. No wonder the giant sword flew here. It's looking for its owner, Xiaoling Yu speculated. Let's join forces and kill this old monster first. What do you think? The demon monarch shouted to Tuo Bahanglai. Tuo Bahanglai hesitated for a moment before replying, very well. Then let's begin. We can't give him too much time. As soon as he finished speaking, a ball of lightning appeared in the demon monarch's hand and he threw it at the giant. You guys wait for an opportunity. After Tuo Bahanglai spoke to Xiaoling Yu, his aura fluctuated, and a top-grade demonic armor appeared on his body. A top-grade demonic sword hovered above his head. At the same time, he swung his hand forward, and a stream of black light shot out. The ball was the first to approach the giant. The giant, who seemed to be unconscious, shook the giant sword in his hand. A beam of demon light shot out from the sword's edge and hit the ball accurately. Boom! The ball suddenly exploded. Streaks of lightning spread out in all directions, but most of them continued forward and pounced on the giant. Suddenly, the giant's huge body trembled. Crackling sounds of electricity crackled all over his body. At the same time, the top-grade demon runes that Tuo Bahanglai had thrown out also bombarded the giant. The explosion forced the giant to take a few steps back. Large chunks of rotten flesh fell from his body, and thick black smoke rose from his body. However, despite the continuous attacks, the giant still stood in the valley. His aura did not weaken at all. The demon monarch and Tuobahanglai did not stop. They each threw out their own top-grade demon treasures at the giant. The giant's reaction was still a little slow. Although he swung the giant sword in his hand frequently, he could only occasionally block the attacks of the two demon monarchs. His body was constantly bombarded and he kept retreating. It was obvious that the giant was no longer as strong as it had been in the past and was in a very bad state. The two demon monarchs kept unleashing their ultimate moves, wanting to kill the giant while it was still in a daze. However, although their attacks were not weak, the lethality they could display when used on the giant was very limited. They could only destroy the rotten flesh on the giant's body, and could not even break a single bone of the giant. For the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the giant had been forcefully resisting the attacks of the two demon monarchs. However, after this period of time, he seemed to have found some form, and the huge sword in his hand danced faster and faster. It was already very difficult for the attacks of the two demon monarchs to affect him. Roar! The giant seemed to have finally been enraged. He roared at the sky and spewed out a dense baleful aura, which instantly flooded the sky of the valley. When Shaolin Yu sensed the shocking energy fluctuations within the fiendish aura, he immediately retreated with the experts of the heaven-smiting bandit group. With a few flashes of his body, he left the air above the valley and arrived outside the valley. The two demon monarchs were not ordinary people. They were not afraid of the baleful aura and continued to attack the giant. Shaolin Yu and the other masters of the heavenly bandits had all retreated. Naturally, they could not see the situation inside the valley. They could only hear the constant roars and explosions coming from inside. At the same time, they could feel the ground constantly shaking, and waves of powerful aura swept out from the valley. In just a few minutes, the mountains around the valley had been razed to the ground. It could be seen how intense the battle was. Shaolin Yu led everyone to retreat again and again until they were no longer affected by the battle over there. Only then did they stop to watch and wait. "Leader, I feel that the two demon monarchs may not be able to defeat that big guy," Xiao Liang said to Shaolin Yu with a look of lingering fear. "That might not be the case. That big guy is not in a good state right now. He is only possessed by the evil spirit, and does not have any powerful spells or battle skills. Since the two demon monarchs dared to fight, they must have something to rely on. It is just that they are not willing to use their trump cards so easily. If we really push them too far, we may have a chance." Shaolin Yu shook her head and said, "Even if we win, it will be difficult for Tuobahanglai to get the treasure. I don't think we can count on the remaining 70,000 demonic crystals," Xiao Liang said. "That will depend on luck. We already have 30,000 demonic crystals, so there is no need to think too much. If we can get it, we will take it. If we can't, then forget it," Shaolin Yu said casually. "Leader, do you really not want the demonic treasure?" Xiao Liang asked again. "Do you think we can pull a tooth out of the tiger's mouth?" Shaolin Yu asked with a smile. "Not necessarily. At present, we have not suffered any losses. When they fight to the end and exhaust themselves, we will have a chance. Leaders should have the strength of an early-stage demon monarch. If we work together, we will not be weaker than an early-stage demon monarch. As long as we strike at the right time, I think we will have a great chance," Xiao Liang said reasonably. Don't be too greedy. I have carefully examined the treasure just now. It should be a divine tool. It will be difficult for us to refine it. Moreover, it will be easy to attract the attention of the top experts of the demon realm. It is better to help Tuobahanglai get the treasure and collect some commission." Shaolin Yu shook her head and smiled. Shaolin Yu was also a person who possessed a divine tool, but because of it, he had repeatedly attracted powerful enemies. Moreover, it was difficult for the divine tool to display its amazing power in his hands. If he was not facing a top expert of the demon realm, it was not a good thing to have a divine tool. Just as Shaolin Yu and Xiao Liang were discussing this, a 5-colored light suddenly flashed from the original location of the valley. Then, a powerful aura surged out. "Everyone, pay attention. I am afraid the result will be out soon," Xiaolingyu said as she helped everyone resist the shockwave. Just as Xiaolingyu finished speaking, a figure flew over from the front. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that the figure was the demon monarch. It was extremely fast. The cross-shaped greatsword that should have been in the hands of the giant had now fallen into the hands of the demon monarch. "Stop him!" Before the demon monarch could fly over, Tuo Bahonglai's shout had already reached Xiaolingyu's ears. Xiaolingyu did not hesitate and immediately sent out the chaotic demonic seal. When the 100 heavenly bandits experts saw Xiaolingyu make a move, they each cast their own arts, forming a beam of demonic light that chased after the chaotic demonic seal. Scram! The demon monarch roared and dodged the chaotic demonic seal. He also dodged the collective attack of the heavenly bandits experts. However, because he dodged, the demon monarch was unable to continue moving in a straight line. His speed immediately decreased, allowing Xiaolingyu and the others to attack him. At this time, Tuo Bahonglai had also caught up with him. In his hand, he was holding a 5-colored jade talisman. The demon monarch dodged Xiaolingyu and the others' attacks again, but his aura had weakened a lot. His face was very pale, and he looked like he had been seriously injured. Tuo Bahonglai had already caught up, and the 5-colored jade talisman in his hand immediately spewed out a 5-colored radiance. The 5-colored radiance was formed from an unknown energy. Not only did it reach the demon monarch in the blink of an eye, but no matter how the demon monarch tried to dodge, he could not shake off its pursuit. The demon monarch knew that he could not avoid it, so he turned around and slashed at the 5-colored radiance with the giant cross-shaped sword in his hand. There was a loud explosion. After a burst of 5-colored radiance, the demon monarch let out a miserable cry. His body involuntarily flew far away, and the giant sword fell out of his hand. Tuo Bahonglai flashed like lightning. He arrived at the location of the giant cross-shaped sword and caught it. He originally wanted to wrap the giant cross-shaped sword with his mind and store it in a storage magic treasure, but his mind could not move the giant sword. Tuo Bahonglai had to give up. He just held the sword and then rushed toward the demon monarch. The demon monarch had already stabilized his body. His aura was chaotic, and he was constantly coughing up blood. "The treasure is already yours. What more do you want?" Seeing Tuo Bahonglai fly over with an unfriendly expression, the demon monarch said angrily. "Humph! If I hadn't used the divine power in the talisman, you wouldn't have had the chance to snatch the treasure from the giant. I didn't expect that after you got the treasure, you would try to slip away without saying a word. If they hadn't intercepted me, I'm afraid you would have disappeared without a trace," Tuo Bahonglai said with a cold snort. "I admit that the giant was killed by the divine power in your talisman. But if I hadn't been in front of you, you wouldn't have had the chance to activate the talisman. Even if you did manage to activate it, you wouldn't have been able to hit the giant so easily. Now that the treasure is in your hands, I won't fight with you over it, okay?" The demon monarch said, unconvinced. You can leave if you want. Leave behind 100,000 demon crystals, and I won't make things difficult for you, Tuo Bahonglai said with a sneer. "I helped you snatch the treasure, and you want to extort 100,000 demon crystals from me?" The demon monarch glared at him. 100,000 demon crystals for a life. "If you don't think it's worth it, you can choose not to pay," Tuo Bahonglai said noncommittally. "You've gone too far." The demon monarch was furious. He roared, and his aura surged. He opened his mouth and spat out a black light at Tuo Bahonglai. Tuo Bahonglai was shocked. He immediately retreated a distance, and then controlled his best quality demon sword to meet the black light. Just as Xiaolingyu was hesitating over whether or not he should attack, the black light formed by the supreme grade demon treasure suddenly exploded. Not only did it blow away Tuo Bahonglai's demon sword, but it also created a powerful shockwave that forced Tuo Bahonglai back. The demon monarch originally looked like he was going to fight Tuo Bahonglai to the death. But after detonating his best quality demon treasure, he turned around and rushed toward Xiaolingyu and the others. Xiaoling Yu and the rest of the Heaven-Smiting Bandit Group's experts were greater in number, so they had practically blocked off all escape routes. If the Devil Monarch wanted to escape, he would naturally have to escape through Xiaoling Yu's group. After all, they appeared to be weaker. Don't let him escape. It was too late for Tuo Bahanglai to chase, so he could only shout. Chapter 318. If you stop me, you'll die too. The Devil Monarch's injuries were too severe. Even if he managed to break out of the encirclement, he would not be able to escape. In desperation, he threw out all of his magical weapons and talismans at the Heavenly Bandits' experts. The Heavenly Bandits had a large number of experts, making them easy targets. Even though Xiaoling Yu had taken out all 6 devil-suppressing immortal orbs, he was only able to block 6 of the Devil Monarch's attacks. The remaining 2 devil treasures and 3 devil talismans all exploded in the midst of the Heaven-Smiting Bandit Group cultivators. Rumbling explosions rang out non-stop as the 20 or so experts of the Heaven-Smiting Bandit Group who were blocking the Devil Monarch's path were all killed on the spot in an instant. At the same time, Xiaoling Yu's chaotic demonic seal and Tuo Bahanglai's divine talisman struck the Devil Monarch. It was unclear whether he was unable to dodge or did not want to. The Devil Monarch's body immediately exploded. While Xiaoling Yu was lamenting the deaths of the Heavenly Bandits' experts and checking on the injuries of his brothers, Tuo Bahanglai quickly arrived and put away the Devil Monarch's storage magical weapon. After carefully inspecting the surroundings, Tuo Bahanglai approached Xiaoling Yu. He clasped his fists and said politely, "Thank you for your help." Xiaoling Yu's face was gloomy. He did not want the Heavenly Bandits' experts to suffer any injuries. It was not a good feeling to have things go against one's wishes. However, since they were out on an adventure, they had to be prepared to make sacrifices. Therefore, he could not complain. He only said indifferently, "Don't be so polite, fellow Taoist. This is what we should do." The commotion here was too big. "I'm afraid there will be more experts coming. Let's retreat as soon as possible." Tuo Bahanglai took the lead and flew away. He had no intention of giving the Heavenly Bandits' experts time to rest. Xiaoling Yu took out some better healing pills from his storage magical weapon and gave them to his injured brothers. Then, he led everyone away with Tuo Bahanglai. On the way back, it was also very peaceful. They did not encounter any accidents. After returning to the temporary encampment on the White Bone Continent, Xiaoling Yu had originally planned to ask Tuo Bahanglai for the other 70,000 magical crystals. However, Tuo Bahanglai had chosen a secret room to cultivate in seclusion after returning, and Xiaoling Yu could not force his way in. However, no one knew how long a demonic monarch would be in seclusion. After waiting for 3 months, all the cultivators and the Heavenly Bandits could not wait any longer. "I think he's trying to play dirty. He doesn't want to pay us another 70,000 magic crystals," Xiao Liang said angrily. "If he wants to deny it, we can't do anything about it. We can't possibly risk our lives to fight a demon monarch over this, right? Moreover, this demon monarch is a formidable character," Zhu Jin said gloomily. "Most importantly, he didn't say that he wouldn't give it to us. He just doesn't want to come out of seclusion. We can't wait any longer. If we force our way in, we'll look petty," Sujin said helplessly. "It's also because all the outsiders were killed that the news of the treasure being in his hands didn't spread. Otherwise, how could he be at ease in seclusion here?" Xiao Liang added. "If he dares to deny the 70,000 magical crystals, then there's no need for us to be courteous," Xiaoling Yu said with narrowed eyes. If it weren't for the fact that more than 20 experts from the Heaven-Smiting Bandit Group had died at the last moment, it would have been fine if Xiaoling Yu didn't want the 70,000 magic crystals. However, the Heaven-Smiting Bandit Group had also suffered heavy losses and only obtained 30,000 magic crystals. There was no way he could be satisfied. At that time, the Heavenly Bandits didn't have to suffer so many losses. It was only because Tuo Bahanglai had asked the Heavenly Bandits for the magical crystals and didn't want to leave any trouble for himself in the future. Thus, he had asked the Heavenly Bandits to help stop the demon monarch, resulting in the deaths of more than 20 experts. This debt had to be settled with Tuo Bahanglai. After waiting for another 3 months, Xiaoling Yu saw that Tuoba Honglai still had no intention of coming out of seclusion. He couldn't bear it any longer. He walked to the door of Tuoba Honglai's secret room and touched the restriction on the door. Not long after, Tuoba Honglai opened the door of the secret room with an obviously unhappy expression on his face. Fellow Taoist, our bandit group has been lingering on the White Bone continent for too long. We can't wait any longer and are ready to leave the White Bone continent immediately. Xiaoling Yu tried to be as polite as possible. We're leaving. I still have to seclude myself for a while, so I won't see you off. Tuoba Honglai smiled and cupped his hands. Then, he turned to close the door again. Fellow Taoist Tuoba, Xiaoling Yu pressed the door of the secret room and said, "We're about to leave the White Bone continent. Shouldn't you give us the remaining 70,000 magical crystals?" "Oh, that's right, I forgot about that." Tuoba Honglai patted his forehead and looked ashamed. Then, he said, "Actually, when I came here, I only had 30,000 magical crystals with me. Why don't I owe you the remaining 70,000 first? When I go back to get them, I'll give you the full amount." Hearing this, Xiaoling Yu's originally kind expression immediately turned cold. He could no longer suppress his anger and the corners of his mouth twitched. Tuoba Honglai had said that he would immediately give him the remaining 70,000 magical crystals after the matter was settled. But now, he said that he wanted to owe him. Obviously, he was trying to deny it. After all, who knew when they would meet again after this separation? I remember that the storage magic treasure of the demon monarch we killed in the end also fell into your hands. Don't tell me that he didn't have any magical crystals in his storage magic treasure? Xiaoling Yu suppressed his anger and continued to ask. Him? He was a pauper. His storage magic treasure was full of junk and worthless. If you don't believe me, I can show you the storage magic treasure. As Tuoba Honglai spoke, he took out a storage ring. Fellow Tuoba, let's not beat around the bush. Are you going to renege on your debt? Xiaoling Yu was too lazy to beat around the bush and asked directly. Renege? How could I, Tuoba Honglai, do that? Fellow Taoist, please don't misunderstand. I only have 5,000 magical crystals left. At that time, in order to seek your help, I could only agree to your conditions. Why don't I give you these 5,000 magical crystals first? Tuoba Honglai had an innocent look on his face as he took out a storage pouch. Xiaoling Yu received the storage pouch, and upon closer inspection, he discovered that there were exactly 5,000 magic crystals in it. Fellow Taoist Tuoba, if you really don't have enough magical crystals, you can take out a few magic treasures, elixirs, or top-grade materials as compensation. Xiaoling Yu accepted the 5,000 magical crystals without hesitation and then suggested. Tuoba Honglai's smiling expression immediately darkened. He did want to renege on his debt. He was prepared to renege on his debt, but he still took out another 5,000 magical crystals. However, he did not expect the other party to be so inconsiderate. In Tuoba Honglai's opinion, these bandits might not dare to ask him for the 70,000 magical crystals. Even if they did, he could easily brush them off. However, this was not the case. Humph. I have carefully refined my magic treasures for many years. How can I sell them casually? Tuoba Honglai snorted coldly. How can I lose the lives of my 20 brothers casually? Xiaoling Yu asked in the same tone. 20 lowly lives are nothing to be regretted. You spent a lot of time on this mission and did not put in much effort. 30,000 magical crystals is enough, Tuoba Honglai said disdainfully. Your Excellency even wants to renege on the promised commission. I don't think you are any nobler than us bandits. There's no point in talking nonsense. Just tell me, are you going to give us the 70,000 magical crystals or not? Xiaoling Yu asked impatiently. I just said that I only have 5,000 magical crystals left, Tuoba Honglai said lazily. So you're not going to give it to us? Xiaoling Yu asked again. No, how can I give it to you? Tuoba Honglai said, spreading out his hands. Then you can rest assured and cultivate in seclusion here. Having said that, Xiaoling Yu flicked his sleeves and left. Then, he gathered the Heavenly Bandits' cultivators and left the temporary encampment together. Just as Tuoba Hanlai was feeling complacent about the fact that he had saved 70,000 magic crystals, a powerful aura suddenly fell on his head. His expression changed drastically. He shouted and summoned a magic weapon in the shape of a black cloth to protect his head. Boom! The black cloth had just flown into the air when it was blasted down. However, it still managed to block the attack. Tuoba Hanlai leaped into the air and flew into the air above the temporary encampment. He was shocked to find that the Heavenly Bandits, who were about to leave, had lined up neatly in front of him. They looked as if they were united against a common enemy. "How dare you! How dare you!" Before Tuoba Hanlai could finish his words, the Heavenly Bandits' cultivators launched another attack at him. Even though Tuoba Hanlai was a demon monarch, he didn't dare to take the attacks of so many bandits head-on. After all, there were many mystical demons and spirit demons among the bandits. He could only dodge the energy beam shot out by the countless bandits. "Since you want to die, then don't be so ruthless as a monster." With a thought, Tuoba Hanlai's 5-colored jade talisman appeared in his hand. Xiaolingyu knew that the 5-colored jade talisman in his opponent's hand was a divine talisman. It could emit a powerful divine light attack. Since he knew this, Xiaolingyu naturally would not be unprepared. The silver moon broken blade appeared in his hand and began to shine with chaotic magical light. Divine talismans were only used to store and emit divine power. They were not divine weapons and did not have the power of real divine weapons. However, the silver moon broken blade was a divine weapon, and a high-grade one at that. Whoosh! A 5-colored divine light shot out from Tuoba Hanlai's hand. With an unparalleled momentum, it surged through the space of the demonic realm and whistled through the air. Whoosh! With a phoenix cry, a colorful firebird flew out from the silver moon broken blade. It circled in the air for a moment before flapping its wings to meet the 5-colored divine light. The 5-colored divine light and the 5-colored firebird collided in an instant. All the brilliance between heaven and earth was immediately covered by the brilliant and colorful flowing light. Streams of colorful flowing light sputtered in all directions, and a powerful aura shock wave shook the space of the demon realm violently like boiling water. Xiaolingyu did not hesitate. He immediately ordered everyone to launch a collective attack on Tuoba Hanlai while he continued to pour power into the silver moon broken blade and silently operated the phaseless gigantic demonic technique. Chapter 319. Tuoba Hanlai never imagined that his opponent would be able to block the attack of his divine talisman. Seeing his opponent's attack whistling towards him again, Tuoba Hanlai shouted loudly. The black cloth trembled in the air and transformed into a black dragon that circled around him, blocking all of his opponent's attacks. The black cloth was obviously not an ordinary best-grade demonic instrument. Its defensive power was very strong. After it turned into a black dragon, it even had some defensive awareness and skills. Even when Xiaolingyu's chaotic demonic seal hit it, it could only shrink its body but could not break through. At this time, the 5-colored divine light and the colorful firebird dissipated at the same time. The colorful light that filled the sky also gradually dissipated. "Do you think you can win by outnumbering me?" Tuoba Hanlai's murderous aura was thick. The black dragon circling around them also let out a deafening roar. Then, another 5-colored divine light shot out from the divine talisman. At the same time, Tuoba Hanlai and the black dragon moved quickly and rushed toward the Heavenly Bandits. Xiaolingyu first used the silver moon broken saber to send out a colorful firebird to block the 5-colored divine power attack. Then, a pair of silver wings appeared on his back. He also rushed toward Tuoba Hanlai at high speed. The 5-colored divine light and the colorful firebird met again. They were still evenly matched. However, just as Xiaolingyu rushed to Tuoba Hanlai's side, the black dragon swept its tail at him. Xiaolingyu thought the black dragon was a defensive magic weapon. He did not expect it to be able to attack. Caught off guard, he was hit by the dragon's tail. Naturally, his body was involuntarily thrown back. When Shaolin Yu regained his balance, Tuo Bahanlai and the Black Dragon had already reached the Heavenly Bandits formation. The two sides were less than 100 feet apart. Everyone, stand still. Don't panic. Come with me and help the first leader destroy this guy. Xiao Liang's cultivation was the highest. Although he was very nervous, his expression was calm. After he reminded everyone, he took the lead in attacking. The cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits had long been disgusted by Tuo Bahanlai's reneging. Naturally, they were now united against a common enemy. Although they were a little afraid of a demon monarch master, they could only bite the bullet. In the Barren Mountains, they had already killed a demon monarch, so the deterrence of a demon monarch master was greatly reduced. After sending Shaolin Yu flying, Tuo Bahanlai wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to kill the leader. But he did not dare to take the collective attack, 2s. And 2. Not only did Shaolin Yu's appearance change dramatically, but his aura was also increasing rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he was comparable to an early-stage demon monarch cultivator. Formless giant demon. Tuo Bahanlai was shocked. This group of bandits was already very powerful, and their leader's strength was even more extraordinary. Now that their leader had transformed into a formless giant demon, his chances of winning were naturally much lower. The cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits were also shocked. They secretly thought that their leader was a strange man who could always surprise people at critical moments. Giant Demon Palm. Shaolin Yu, who had turned into an indomitable giant, let out a roar that shook the sky. A thick and solid dragon claw covered with dragon scales slammed down from the sky. At the same time, a powerful force gushed out from his palms, enveloping the surroundings and intimidating people's souls. Tuo Bahanlai frowned and activated the Divine Talisman again. A 5-colored divine light shot out to meet the dragon claw that was about to hit him. When the divine light shot out, the Divine Talisman in Tuo Bahanlai's hand dimmed significantly. After a series of battles, the divine power in the Divine Talisman was probably almost exhausted. Even the dragon claw did not dare to take the attack of divine power head-on. However, Shaolin Yu had expected this, so the silver moon broken blade in his other dragon claw also slashed down with a colorful firebird. It was just that Shaolin Yu's strength had multiplied, and his skills were many times stronger than before. In an instant, he had poured a lot more chaos magic power into the silver moon broken blade, and the colorful firebird's power was naturally stronger. The colorful firebird was able to fight evenly with the 5-colored divine light. Now, the colorful firebird that was descending was able to extinguish the divine light in an instant, and it continued to descend. Tuo Bahanlai regretted offending these bandits in order to save the 70,000 demonic crystals. However, he could only block the opponent's attack now. Thus, another 5-colored divine light shot out from the Divine Talisman. At the same time, the black dragon that was hovering around him also swooped down toward the top of his head. The 5-colored divine light and the colorful firebird collided and dispersed. The black dragon was hit by Shaolin Yu's giant demonic palm and was slapped back to its original form, turning into a piece of black cloth. The first master has shown his power. Brothers, don't stop. Attack together and take him down. After Xiaoliang recovered from the shock, he once again encouraged everyone. Thus, thousands of cultivators from the Heavenly Bandits attacked together. The streams of light that filled the sky instantly gathered together and turned into a powerful beam of light that blasted toward Tuo Bahanlai. Take another hit from me. Shaolin Yu also attacked. A dragon claw that was like a mass of black clouds came crashing down from the sky with mighty power. In the face of such an attack, Tuo Bahanlai could only use the divine power in the Divine Talisman to meet it, while the black cloth blocked the beam of light. At the same time, Shaolin Yu's colorful firebird slashed out with the silver moon broken blade and scattered the 5-colored divine light from the Divine Talisman. Even though the beam of light from the Heavenly Bandits cultivators was blocked by the black cloth, Shaolin Yu's formless demonic palm slammed down on Tuo Bahanlai's head. Tuo Bahanlai quickly summoned 3 high-quality defensive magic treasures, but they were all sent flying by the Dragon Claw's power. Even so, the Dragon Claw's power was only weakened by 30%. The Dragon Claw, which still had 70% of its power, slammed Tuo Bahamlai into the ground from midair. Tuo Bahamlai's head buzzed and he felt as if all the bones in his body had fallen apart. Although he was not dead, he was seriously injured. Tuo Bahamlai endured the pain in his body, suppressed the trembling of his soul, and the surging of his blood and chi. He flew up from the ground once more, and before Shaoling Yu and the experts of the heaven-smiting bandit group could attack him again, he took out a storage bag and shouted loudly, "Everyone, please wait. There are 100,000 devil crystals in here, haha, it's too late to take them out now." Shaoling Yu laughed loudly. When the formless demonic palm slammed down again, the sky was filled with shadows of palms. The heavenly bandits' cultivators also attacked without hesitation. Another beam of light formed by countless magic treasures and demonic talismans shot toward Tuo Bahamlai. Tuo Bahamlai knew that today was not the day to be kind. He made up his mind and threw out the divine talisman that he had been holding in his hand. There was not much divine power in the divine talisman. Instead of using divine power to make it lose its effect, it was better to make it explode. At the same time, Tuo Bahamlai's black cloth defensive magic treasure made contact with the beam of light and suddenly exploded. Boom! The divine talisman turned into a 5-colored flowing light. Its speed was extremely fast. Before Shaoling Yu's silver moon-broken blade could intercept it, it had already collided with Shaoling Yu's demonic palm and directly exploded. A sharp pain came from the demonic palm. Shaoling Yu could not help but take a few steps back. Then, his body began to shrink rapidly. However, although the demonic palm was blocked by the divine talisman and the beams of light from the heavenly bandits' cultivators were also scattered, the shadows of palms that filled the sky all slammed into the heavily injured Tuo Bahamlai. Those shadows of palms were from the demonic palm of the splitting soul. They had a strong penetrating power. The stronger the cultivator, the more powerful they were. Shaoling Yu had launched the demonic palm of the splitting soul in the formless giant demon state. In that state, his strength was not weaker than that of an early-stage demonic monarch. Therefore, Tuo Bahamlai could not withstand those shadows of palms at all. Moreover, Tuo Bahamlai was heavily injured. Therefore, after a round of bombardment of palms, Tuo Bahamlai's demonic infant and soul collapsed at the same time. Even a demonic monarch could be very fragile sometimes. Shaoling Yu had returned to his normal appearance. However, one of his arms was badly mutilated by the divine talisman. Nevertheless, he felt that it was worth it to exchange this injury for the life of a demonic monarch. Now that Tuo Bahamlai was dead, his storage magic treasure, as well as the giant sword that could not be stored in a storage magic treasure, naturally all belonged to Shaoling Yu. There was no time to check Tuo Bahamlai's possessions. After cleaning up the battlefield, Shaoling Yu led the heavenly bandits' cultivators and left. After taking a top-grade healing elixir, Shaoling Yu's arm gradually recovered. After an hour, it was no different from before. However, it would still take a long time for it to recover to its original quality. Shaoling Yu was not very worried about his injury. At this time, the cross-shaped giant sword on his back was very difficult for him because he could not store it in a storage magic treasure. If he carried it with him at all times, if he encountered a demonic monarch or a demonic venerable, he would definitely be killed. However, Shaoling Yu could not bear to throw it away. After all, it was a divine artifact. Moreover, this divine artifact was too strange. It had an extremely strong sense of self-protection and did not accept Shaoling Yu's essence, blood and soul. He could not make it recognize him as its master. What a hot potato! Shaoling Yu said gloomily. Fortunately, this divine artifact had lost all its power and its color was restrained. Ordinary cultivators could not see its quality at all. Shaoling Yu did not have to worry too much for the time being. There were still not many people in the transportation array square of the White Bone Continent. The harsh environment here made it so that very few people were willing to come, and those who came would not stay for too long. 4 hours later, the cultivators of the heaven-smiting bandit group were all teleported away. Shaolin Yu also left the Devil Realm continent that was fraught with danger. Chapter 320. Of course, before leaving the Heavenly Bandits, Shaolin Yu had distributed the devil crystals he'd obtained to the mystical demon experts so that they could distribute them among their brothers. Although Shaolin Yu's original intention in creating the Heavenly Bandits was for them to gather devil crystals for him, he was already quite rich now. Naturally, he couldn't take all the benefits that his brothers had obtained through their hard work alone. After recuperating from his injuries and storing more than 10 blood crystals in his body, Shaolin Yu finally came out of seclusion after 5.5 years. After thinking for a while, Shaolin Yu left the continent and continued to teleport east of the demon realm. After continuously teleporting for half a month, Shaolin Yu still hadn't caught up to the Heavenly Bandits. Instead, he arrived at a continent called the Titan Continent. The Titan Continent was one of the larger continents in the northwest of the Demon Realm. Its area was more than 100 times larger than the Northern Sea Continent. It was named after the ancient demon race, the Titan race, that had once occupied this continent. Not only was the Titan Continent large, but it was also rich in cultivation resources. As a result, it was prosperous and had a shocking number of experts. Originally, the entire Titan continent was under the control of the Titan race. However, they had never destroyed anything on the continent, nor had they mined the Devil Stone veins. They had also never robbed the continent of its natural treasures. Moreover, they had protected the cultivation resources and didn't allow other cultivators or races to enter the Titan continent. As a result, this continent was more suitable for demonic cultivators to cultivate than the other famous continents in the demon realm. It had been many years since the destruction of the Titan Devil clan. Cultivators from the Devil world continued to come here and set up their own sections. They built their own residences here. Even now, the cultivators on the Titan continent had forgotten about the Titan Devil clan and were enjoying everything that the Titan Devil clan had left behind. However, such a resource-rich continent quickly attracted the attention of the Demon Realm's bigwigs. They stationed a large number of troops here to mine the Devil Stone veins and plunder the natural treasures. Although they had destroyed everything that the Titan race had left behind, they had also made the continent prosperous. The giant Titan continent was different from the other small continents in the Devil Realm. It wasn't controlled by a single clan. Instead, it was controlled by several powerful clans in the Devil Realm. In the beginning, these forces didn't mind their own business. They fought with each other endlessly, but after many years of fighting, they realized that their strength was almost the same. If they didn't have to fight to the death, this kind of small fight wouldn't solve the problem at all. In the end, they sat down and talked for a while, and then there was the current situation of dividing and controlling the territory. Since there were several powerful forces on the Titan continent, ordinary devil cultivators didn't dare to cause trouble on the continent. After all, no one could be sure that the person they offended wasn't a disciple of a powerful force. Even the people from those powerful forces were very low-key here, not wanting to stir up trouble. In short, the resource-rich Titan continent was very peaceful on the surface. This was also an important factor in its prosperity. Originally, Shaolin Yu shouldn't have come to a place like the Titan continent where experts gathered because he was carrying a sacred weapon. However, he still came. After exiting the teleportation array, he walked quickly to the entrance of Titan City. After waiting in line for a while, he entered the city. Titan City was built by the joint efforts of those powerful forces. All the shops in the city belonged to them, but they mostly collected rent. Only a few shops were operated by them. Since it was controlled by those powerful forces, they naturally had to ensure the safety of Titan City. Therefore, fighting was absolutely prohibited in Titan City. It was said that even ordinary devil emperors wouldn't dare to be too presumptuous here. One had to know that the powerful forces left many experts on the Titan continent. There was no lack of devil emperors among them. Moreover, the powerful forces themselves didn't lack devil emperors. Even so, Shaolin Yu didn't dare to be careless when he arrived in Titan City. The expression on his face was very gloomy. After walking quickly on the streets of Titan City for a full day, Shaolin Yu finally arrived at the center of the city. Then, he found a large-scale auction house. This auction house was built in the center of the city and was the only auction house in the vicinity. It was enough to see that this auction house had a very strong background. Before Shaolin Yu came to the Titan continent, he had already inquired about some things. He knew that this auction house called Qi Clan didn't belong to any of the powerful forces on the Titan continent. Instead, it was a large-scale chain auction house that had branches in almost all of the prosperous continents in the Devil Realm. To be able to do such a big business, one could imagine how powerful the Qi Clan auction house's background was. It was also because of this that no one dared to provoke this auction house. Moreover, their reputation was very good. That was why Shaolin Yu came here. After entering the hall of the 7-story Qi Clan auction house, Shaolin Yu didn't look at anything else. He directly walked to the counter and said to the female cultivator behind the counter, "I heard that there will be a big auction soon. I'm here to auction a treasure. May I ask what grade of treasure esteemed guest would like to auction? Is it a material or a finished product?" the female cultivator asked politely. "A finished magic treasure. The grade is quite high." Shaolin Yu replied in a deep voice. "How high is it?" The female cultivator was a bit dissatisfied with this vague answer. "It's higher than an extreme grade demonic item." Shaolin Yu replied. "Esteemed guest, are you joking? If it's higher than an extreme grade demonic item, it's at least a quasi-divine item." The female cultivator laughed strangely. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Shaolin Yu asked unhappily. The female cultivator stared at Shaolin Yu for a while. In the end, she took out a jade tablet and placed it on the counter. She said, "Take your treasure to room Wushu on the 2nd floor." Shaolin Yu took the jade tablet and calmly walked up to the 2nd floor. In only 10 breaths of time, he found room Wushu. After inserting the jade tablet into the groove on the door to room Wushu automatically opened. Room Wushu looked like a study. It wasn't big, but there weren't many decorations. After entering the room, one could see a wooden table. An old man with white hair and a white beard was sitting behind the wooden table. "Fellow Taoist, please take a seat." The old man pointed to a wooden chair in front of the table and said amiably, "Thank you for your seat." Shaolin Yu cupped his fists and replied before sitting down. "Fellow Taoist, what treasure do you want to auction? Take it out and let this old man take a look. This old man can appraise and value it for you." The old man said with a smile. Shaolin Yu nodded and took off the sword box on his back. After placing it on the table, he slowly opened it. Shaolin Yu pointed at the sword box and said, "The treasure is this huge cross-shaped sword. This huge cross-shaped sword should be in its normal state." It was nearly 6 feet long and half a foot wide. The hilt was 2 feet long, and it looked like a cross cast from black iron. However, this huge sword in the hands of the winged giant demon could expand to several hundred feet long. Moreover, at that time, Shaolin Yu felt that this huge sword was in its normal state. When the old man saw the huge sword being taken out of the sword box, his expression suddenly changed. He couldn't help but shift his gaze away and look at Shaolin Yu in surprise. After looking for a while, the old man said apologetically, "Fellow Taoist, please wait for a moment. This old man's eyes are not good enough to appraise this huge sword. I'll ask a more skilled appraiser to take a look." Shaolin Yu silently nodded and didn't say anything. The old man took out a communication bead and sent out a message. After waiting for less than 100 breaths of time, an old man in a brocade robe entered room Wushu. After everyone greeted each other, he also picked up the huge sword on the table. The originally calm expression on his face gradually became complicated. "This is a divine sword." After looking at it for a while, the old man in the brocade robe said with certainty, "It's really a divine sword? What grade is it?" The white-haired and white-bearded old man didn't look too surprised. He just asked curiously. "It should be a middle-grade divine sword. Moreover, it has a strong demonic nature and seems to have a strong self-consciousness. Although it is difficult to refine, once it is successfully refined, the power of this middle-grade divine sword will definitely be stronger than ordinary middle-grade divine weapons. The old man in the brocade robe narrowed his eyes and said, "Fellow Taoist, you really want to auction this divine sword?" The white-haired and white-bearded old man asked in disbelief. He could feel that this cultivator who wanted to auction this divine sword was not weak. How could he be willing to sell such a divine sword? "That's right," Shaoling Yu answered simply. "This kind of treasure is almost priceless. If you really want to auction it, let's set the starting price at 5 million magical crystals first and let those rich big forces bid for it. I estimate that it will be sold for at least 70 million or 80 million magical crystals." The old man in the brocade robe was slightly excited. "So much?" Shaoling Yu was shocked. She didn't expect this divine sword to be so valuable. "If you really want to auction it, we can expand the scale of the auction that is about to start and get some high-end goods from branches on other continents. We can hold the largest auction in Giant Tank City. During the preparation process, we can use all kinds of channels to promote it. When the time comes, this divine sword may be sold for a high price of more than 100 million magical crystals." The old man in the brocade robe said excitedly. "As for how to auction it, that's your auction house's business. What I want to know is when I can get the magical crystals. I'll leave the item with you. Can you give me a deposit first?" "Ha, don't worry, fellow Taoist." Before Shaoling Yu finished speaking, the old man in the brocade robe interrupted and said, "We naturally won't let you keep the divine sword for free. According to the rules of the Qi Clan auction house, we will give you 30% of the estimated price first and leave behind a special jade slip to record the transaction process. Since you can come to the Qi Clan auction house to auction this divine sword, you must have inquired about it. We will never accept the treasure of the host and turn around to accept it. Let's do as you say. I'll wait at the Huixiang restaurant next door. After the auction is over, I'll come to collect the rest of the magical crystals." Shaoling Yu nodded and agreed. "Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment. Your divine sword can be sold for at least 70 million magical crystals. Even if it's only 30%, we still need to prepare. How long will it take?" Shaoling Yu asked. 4 hours at most," the old man in the brocade robe replied. Chapter 321. After withdrawing a total of 20 million devil crystals from the Qi Clan auction house and a high-class VIP identity token, Shaoling Yu left by himself and went to the nearby elegant fragrance restaurant, and asked for a room to stay for the time being. While meditating with her eyes closed, Shaoling Yu couldn't help but look at the mountain of magic crystals in her storage magic treasure. She couldn't help but feel sorry for Tuoba Honglai. That cross-shaped sword could be sold for such a high price, but he was still stingy with a mere 70,000 magic crystals. In the end, not only did he not save the magic crystals, but he also lost the divine sword in his life. The fate of cultivators often changed in an instant. When you couldn't care less, don't worry about it. While Shaoling Yu was waiting in peace, the various publicity channels of the Qi Clan auction house were running at the same time. The news of a middle-grade divine sword being auctioned also spread through various channels. This news alone had attracted the attention of many big shots in the devil realm. They either came in person or sent their trusted aides. They were all determined to get this middle-grade divine sword. Divine weapons were not rare in the devil realm, just like immortal weapons in the cultivation world. However, most of the divine weapons were in the hands of devil emperors or devil sovereigns, and most of them were low-grade divine weapons. For any big shot in the devil realm, a middle-grade divine weapon was of great significance to them. It could greatly enhance their strength. The giant tank city was bustling to begin with. Now that the Qi Clan auction house was holding a grand auction with great fanfare, it attracted many cultivators. In just a few days, the giant tank city became very crowded. Every restaurant and tea house was filled with people. More than 3 months later, the auction was held as scheduled. Countless cultivators poured into the Qi Clan auction house. Naturally, cultivators of various realms couldn't all squeeze into one auction house. As usual, the Qi clan auction house opened 3 auction houses. The first auction house was on the 3rd floor of the Qi clan auction house. There was no restriction on cultivation. Anyone could come. The second auction house was on the 4th floor of the Qi clan auction house. One's cultivation had to be at least at the early stage of the true devil realm to enter. Moreover, everyone had to pay a high-grade magic stone. The third auction house was on the 5th floor of the Qi clan auction house. It was also the highest level venue of this auction. To enter, one had to pay a top-grade magic stone and be at least at the early stage of the profound devil realm. In other words, everyone in the third auction house was an expert. Shaolin Yu also came to the Qi clan auction house before the auction began. He didn't want to join in the fun, but the Qi clan auction house had attracted countless rare treasures in such a grand event. Maybe he could use some of them. And now he was rich. If he didn't come and have a look, he would be tempted. With Shaolin Yu's current cultivation base of chaotic void refining stage and his overall strength no weaker than that of an early-stage demon monarch, he naturally didn't fancy the treasures that were going to be auctioned in the first and second auction houses. Therefore, he went directly to the 5th floor of the Qi clan auction house. After showing his VIP identity card, the 2 gatekeepers, who were both demon monarchs, let him in with a smile. At this time, the third auction house was already full. Shaolin Yu found a seat in a corner of the auction house and sat down. He then waited quietly. The auction hall was oval in shape, with an empty space in the center. There was no auction platform or anything of the sort. Near the center, there were more than a dozen rooms with high-level restrictions. They should be occupied by some very noble experts of the devil realm. Half an hour after Shaolin Yu sat down, the center of the auction house was suddenly illuminated by a beam of light. An old man wearing a red robe appeared. He had a joyful smile on his face and looked very festive. "I'm Qi Rong. I'm the manager of the Qi clan auction house branch in Giant Tank City. On behalf of my Qi clan auction house, I would like to thank everyone for coming." At this point, the old man Qi Rong bowed respectfully in all directions. "I've made everyone wait for a long time. So, I won't say any more nonsense. Let's start the auction." As Qi Rong spoke, he took out a jade box and slowly opened it. A wave of demonic qi rose from the jade box. The auction began. After Qi Rong introduced the treasures, he announced the starting price for everyone to bid. The whole process was not much different from other auctions. Shaolin Yu's eyes were half closed and he looked sleepy. In fact, he was listening very carefully. However, he had no intention of bidding. Although the treasures that Qi Rong took out were all rare treasures of extraordinary value, Shaolin Yu's cultivation method was special. Those treasures were targeted at the needs of ordinary experts of the Devil Dao. Therefore, these treasures were not very useful to him and could not arouse his desire to bid. On the other hand, the other cultivators in the auction house were all in high spirits. They shouted one after another, causing the smile on Qi Rong's face to become more and more intense. Shaolin Yu also noticed that the cultivators in the rooms in front of him rarely called out bids. Even if they did call out a price, it would be a high one. As long as someone competed with them, they wouldn't raise the price. After a period of excitement, everyone gradually calmed down. However, the auction house did not want to see a calm auction house. Only when everyone became more and more excited could they continue to raise the price. Therefore, the experienced Qi Rong decided to auction a treasure in advance. "Fellow cultivators, the item that will be auctioned now is a material. I believe everyone will be interested." A transparent jade bottle that was 1 foot tall and half a foot in diameter appeared in Qi Rong's hand. Inside the jade bottle was more than half a bottle of dark golden liquid. "This is more than half a bottle of true dragon's blood," Qi Rong said in a loud voice. The eyes of the cultivators in the auction house lit up, but they were not too excited. Although true dragons were divine beasts, true dragon's blood was not difficult to obtain in the devil world. Qi Rong smiled faintly, then took a deep breath and continued, "I believe that many of our fellow devil emperors here know of a story. During the previous war between the demon realm and the devil realm, a demon emperor whose true form was a 5-clawed golden dragon used his unparalleled strength to kill his way into the devil realm and killed countless devil emperors of our devil realm. In the end, he forced 3 devil sovereigns of the devil realm to join forces and severely injured him before he retreated. At that time, that demon emperor had experienced countless bloody battles in our devil world. Although he was powerful and his physical defense was comparable to a divine artifact, he still shed a lot of blood in the devil world. The true dragon's blood in this bottle was left behind by that demon emperor. As soon as this was said, the entire auction house was in an uproar. Xiaoling Yu's impatient expression was immediately swept away. Her eyes were fixed on the jade bottle in Qi Rong's hand. The Qi clan auction house had never had a precedent of using shoddy goods to deceive the bidders. Every time a treasure was sent here, it would be appraised by the experts of the auction house. Therefore, no one doubted Qi Rong's words. The higher the realm, the more the devil world experts knew, the more they believed in the Qi clan auction house. The starting price of this half a bottle of true dragon's blood is 500,000 devil crystals. Each bid must not be lower than 50,000 devil crystals, 1 million devil crystals. Before Qi Rong finished speaking, someone in the VIP box in front had already anxiously bid. Moreover, he directly doubled the starting price. 1,200,000. 1,300,000. Everyone was stunned, but then someone continued to bid. True dragon's blood, and such a high-grade true dragon's blood, was useful to any cultivator. In less than 20 breaths of time since the start of the auction, the price of this half a bottle of true dragon's blood had skyrocketed to 3 million devil crystals, and it was still rising. When the price reached 5 million devil crystals, there were very few people who continued to bid. Although this true dragon's blood was good, not all the cultivators who came here had brought enough devil crystals. Moreover, many experts who had brought enough devil crystals were here for the divine weapon. They did not want to use up too many devil crystals before the auction started. At this point, the auction had just entered the second half. There might be other more precious treasures appearing later. With these concerns, the truly powerful VIPs began to hesitate. 7 million devil crystals. Just as the price of that half a bottle of true dragon's blood began to slowly climb and gradually approached 6 million devil crystals, Xiaoling Yu spoke. His words immediately silenced the entire crowd. Those VIPs who were still hesitating chose to give up. 7 million devil crystals was already a sky-high price. Even a top sect like the Chepo sect on the Blood Moon mainland would not be able to take out 7 million devil crystals at once. 7,500,000. After a while, a cultivator in a VIP box raised the price. 9 million. Xiaoling Yu raised the price without hesitation. He was full of confidence and determined to win. Either he did not open his mouth, or once he opened his mouth, he had to have an imposing and domineering aura. This kind of aura would deter others. No one raised the price again. Qi Rong waited for close to 50 breaths of time before getting someone to deliver the jade bottle to Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu calmly paid 9 million devil crystals and then kept the jade bottle. Many cultivators in the auction hall looked in his direction. The auction continued. Under Qi Rong's intentional control, the atmosphere in the auction hall was very tense. One treasure after another was won by everyone. This kind of auction that could easily cost hundreds of thousands or even millions of devil crystals was considered to have broadened Xiaoling Yu's knowledge. At the same time, he also realized that for things like devil crystals, the more the better. After waiting for another 6 hours, the auction finally entered the final stage. The finale treasures were revealed one after another. First, there was a quasi-divine weapon that was auctioned for a high price of 10 million devil crystals. Then, there was a low-grade divine elixir, followed by a low-grade divine armor. These treasures that were worth more than 10 million devil crystals could only be fought over by the major forces. The ordinary cultivators in the auction hall could only watch enviously. They did not have the slightest confidence to bid. After obtaining the true dragon's blood, Xiaoling Yu did not make a sound. Although those treasures were good, they were not of much use to him. He was now only concerned about the value of the divine sword that he had put up for auction. Fellow cultivators, this auction is coming to an end. There is only one last treasure left. I believe that many of you are here for it. You should have prepared plenty of devil crystals. Now, let me show you this treasure. Chapter 322. After the sword case was completely opened, it suddenly disappeared, and a pure black cross-shaped greatsword was held in Chi-Rong's hand. This is the final treasure of this auction, a divine sword with the quality of a middle-grade divine artifact. Chi-Rong lightly waved the greatsword in his hand and said loudly, "As far as I know, in the entire demon realm, there are only 2 or 3 high-grade divine artifacts, and they are all in the hands of demon sovereigns. The spirituality of this divine sword is definitely not inferior to a high-grade divine artifact, and it also has a very strong demonic nature. If a fellow cultivator in the late stage of Demon Emperor refines it and carefully refines it, he will definitely be able to unleash the power of a high-grade divine artifact." All the cultivators present were moved. I don't need to say anything else. Everyone knows the value of this artifact. It's impossible to estimate the value of this artifact with magic crystals, but since it's an auction, there must be a base price. We've discussed it with the host and set the base price of this sword at 5 million magic crystals. Each increment must not be less than 500,000 magic crystals. Now, everyone can start bidding. After Chi-Rong finished speaking, he placed the divine sword behind his back. 6 million demon crystals, 7 million. 8 million, 10 million. After only 4 calls, the price of the divine sword had jumped to 10 million demon crystals. Other than those few voices, no other voices could be heard. Most of the cultivators were just watching the show. After 100 breaths of time, the price of the divine sword had been raised to 50 million demon crystals, and it continued to rise without slowing down, 85 million. When someone called out this astronomical price, the auction house fell into silence again, 100 million. The silence lasted for less than 5 breaths of time. An expert in a wing room directly called out a price of 100 million demon crystals, and all the cultivators present gasped. Only the top forces of the demon realm could take out so many demon crystals. The top forces of the demon realm controlled countless continents of the demon realm, and the large cities they built on those continents were constantly plundering profits for them, causing their wealth to grow by the day. However, the top forces also consumed a lot of demon crystals to maintain their operations. Their demon monarchs and demon emperors usually used up a lot of demon crystals for their cultivation, so even the top forces did not have an unlimited amount of demon crystals, and could not squander them as they wished. The bigger the force, the more careful they were when spending demon crystals, especially for such a large expenditure of 10 million demon crystals. The sky-high price of 100 million demon crystals made the experts who had been calling out bids just now fall silent. Everyone's heartstrings tightened, including Chi-Rong on the stage. Only Shaolingyu's expression at this moment. With so many magical crystals, I shouldn't have to worry about not having enough magical crystals to buy things or cultivate in the future, Shaolingyu said after some thought. With the good reputation of the Qi clan auction house, they would definitely not reveal the identity of the host, so no one would know that Shaolingyu had so many magic crystals. 110 million. After a moment of silence, someone raised demon crystals as demon crystals 150 million. The expert who called out the price of 100 million demon crystals once again called out a price that made the hearts of all the cultivators in the audience beat faster. Even Shaolingyu was a little surprised, but he naturally hoped that the price of the divine cross sword would be as high as possible. 160 million, someone still raised the price. The high price of 150 million demon crystals did not scare off all the bidders. If these top forces of the demon realm were to be ruthless, taking out a few 100 million demon crystals would not be a problem. It was just a matter of whether it was worth it. This old man is Huyan Lianqi. I have just taken in a disciple and am preparing to gift this demon sword to my beloved disciple. Please give me some face. 180 million demon crystals. That indifferent voice was no longer indifferent, but with a hint of anger. He even called out his name. Demon Sovereign Huyin. Why is he here too? Some people in the audience seemed to recognize this name and whispered. It's actually a demon sovereign. Xiaolingyu was also shocked. Senior Huyin, you even have a high-grade divine artifact. Why are you fighting with us juniors for a middle-grade divine artifact? I bid 200 million demon crystals. There was really someone who did not give the demon sovereign face and dared to raise the price. However, this person should not be afraid of the demon sovereign. He must have a strong background. Good, good, good. Huyin Lianqi shouted 3 times in a row. Then, the box he was in suddenly exploded. Then, a violent and powerful aura immediately enveloped the entire audience. The space fluctuated violently. No cultivator could move an inch at this moment. An old man wearing a gray robe slowly walked towards Qirong with a gloomy face. His eyes were fixed on the divine sword in Qirong's hand. This old man does not have 200 million demon crystals. Since I can't take it out, I might as well not take it out. However, this divine sword still belongs to this old man. Huyin Lianqi's words passed through the fluctuating space and into the ears of all the cultivators present. Senior, you can't. When Huyin Lianqi reached out to grab the divine sword, a middle-aged cultivator withstood the spatial fluctuations and arrived at the center of the venue. A late-stage demon emperor wants to stop this old man? Huyin Lianqi asked with a sidelong glance. Senior, if you want to snatch it by force, you can wait until the end of the auction. You can find whoever has it. You can't do it in the auction. The middle-aged cultivator cupped his fists and begged. Why not? Huyin Lianqi asked curiously. This will ruin the reputation and rules of our Qi clan auction house. The middle-aged cultivator braced himself and answered. Why should I care about your reputation? If I didn't give you some face, you wouldn't be standing in front of me right now. Huyin Lianqi sneered. He snatched the divine cross sword from Qirong's hand and said, snatching outside is snatching, snatching here is also snatching. This old man will not consider so much. If you are not satisfied, you can come and find me at any time. Everyone knows where I cultivate. After that, Huyin Lianqi swaggered out of the venue with the divine cross sword in his hand. After Huyin Lianqi left, the fluctuation of aura that shrouded the entire venue also disappeared. Everyone regained their freedom, but they were all wiping the cold sweat on their foreheads. A venerable stage powerhouse was the strongest existence in the demon realm. They were also comparable to gods. Just by releasing a little of their aura, they could imprison a demon emperor expert on the spot. Xiaolingyu could clearly feel that as long as Huyin Lianqi willed it, he could easily obliterate him in an instant. Everyone, our Qi clan auction house will definitely seek justice from Senior Huyin for this matter. We are sorry to have frightened everyone. This auction is over. The late-stage demon emperor expert bowed to everyone and said with an apologetic face. Anyway, no one suffered any injuries. Many cultivators felt that it was a blessing to be able to see a demon venerable with their own eyes. Naturally, no one said anything and left the venue one after another. Xiaolingyu's mood was a bit complicated. He saw that he had more than 100 million demon crystals in his hands, but unexpectedly, the divine cross he put up for auction was snatched away by someone. However, thinking that the other party was a demon venerable, and he had won a bottle of true dragon blood, there was nothing to be depressed about. After returning to the Huixiang restaurant and staying for 2 days, Xiaolingyu thought that the Qi clan auction house would contact him and give him an explanation, but he did not receive the slightest news. Xiaolingyu felt that waiting like this was not the way to go, so he went to the Qi clan auction house, but was told that the treasures he put up for auction were snatched in the auction house. As long as the auction house tried its best to protect it, it had nothing to do with the auction house. In other words, the Qi clan auction house would not be responsible for the theft of the divine cross. Xiaolingyu knew that the Qi clan auction house was acting shamelessly, but in some of the rules of the Qi clan auction house, there was indeed no mention of how to deal with the stolen treasures during the auction, so he could only leave sullenly. The Qi clan auction house was very powerful. A demon venerable level powerhouse could behave atrociously in front of them, but Xiaoling Yu was absolutely not qualified. Anyway, the Qi clan auction house had given him 20 million demon crystals. Xiaoling Yu felt that his loss was not very big, so he swallowed his anger. After paying the bill at the Huixiang restaurant, Xiaoling Yu left Giant Tank City and came to the teleportation array square. "Brother, can you give me half of your bottle of true dragon blood?" "I can give you 5 million demon crystals." Just as Xiaoling Yu was waiting in line for the teleportation array, a voice sounded in his ear. Xiaoling Yu turned around and saw a young cultivator looking at him expectantly. "You have the demon crystals. You should have just bid for it." Xiaoling Yu replied indifferently. "I only have 5 million demon crystals. How can I bid for it?" The young cultivator smiled bitterly. "To be honest, this half bottle of true dragon blood may not be enough for my own use. I can't give you half." Xiaoling Yu shook his head and replied. "The true dragon's blood is extremely useful to me. It can almost save my life. I hope that brother can fulfill my request. Apart from the devil crystal, you can add on some other conditions," the young cultivator said very sincerely. "I'm really sorry. I also want this true dragon blood to save my life." Xiaoling Yu said indifferently. He wanted this true dragon's blood. Although it wasn't really life-saving, it could be used to transform his body and improve the quality of his body. Xiaoling Yu estimated that after using this true dragon blood to transform his body, it was very likely that he would have the ability to transform into a dragon. Therefore, he would not give up this true dragon blood so easily. "Brother, if you can agree, I can swear on my soul that I will be loyal to you forever. I will be your slave and servant until I die." The young cultivator begged bitterly. Xiaoling Yu hesitated and said, "If you can let me plant a restriction in your soul, I might consider it." In Xiaoling Yu's opinion, this request was too rude. The other party would definitely not agree. He was purposely making the other party retreat. However, he did not expect that the young cultivator would actually nod after thinking for a while. "Okay, plant the restriction." Xiaoling Yu narrowed his eyes, but he still reached out a finger and touched the other party's forehead. Chapter 323. On an unknown continent of the demon realm, Xiaoling Yu and the young cultivator found a barren mountain and opened up a simple cave residence. The young cultivator was called Lian Rong. He was an early-stage immortal monarch realm bounty hunter and a hunter-king realm bounty hunter. For many years, he had been working hard to do missions in order to earn more demon crystals. The reason why he worked so hard was that he wanted to buy some high-quality true dragon blood. True dragon blood was easy to get in the demon realm, but high-quality true dragon blood was rare. Not only was it difficult to encounter, but it was also difficult to get. This auction was an example. Lian Rong had waited for many years and could not wait any longer, so he agreed to plant a restriction in Xiaoling Yu's soul. Xiaoling Yu did not intend to share half of the true dragon blood with Lian Rong, but seeing Lian Rong so eager and sincere, he could not remain indifferent. "You protect me. I will cultivate in seclusion for a while. If there is any left in this half bottle of true dragon blood, I will not be stingy." At the door of a secret room, Xiaoling Yu told Lian Rong, "Don't worry. During your seclusion, I will do my best to protect you and not let anyone disturb you." Lian Rong simply responded and then asked, "How long will this seclusion take?" Xiaoling Yu pondered for a moment and said, "I am not sure, but at most a few years. If it is a few years, then it will be in time." Lian Rong's nervous expression immediately relaxed. Xiaoling Yu nodded and then went directly into the secret room, and then set up many restrictions around the secret room. Sitting down cross-legged, a primal true fire gushed out of his palm, and then he took out materials one by one and threw them into the fire to burn and refine. After all the materials were properly processed, he waved his arm and a jade bathtub appeared in the center of the secret room. The materials that had been refined into liquid form were thrown into the jade bathtub one after another. Afterwards, he took out the half-filled bottle of true dragon blood. With the opening of the bottle facing downwards, the dark golden true dragon blood slowly flowed out and fell into the bathtub. Immediately, the medicinal soup in the bathtub began to churn, and a thick mist began to rise. After pouring in about 2/3 of the liquid, the medicinal decoction had already been concocted. Shaolin Yu hurriedly straightened the opening of the bottle, put the cork back on the bottle, and put away the jade bottle. Shaolin Yu began to carefully observe the medicinal decoction. After hesitating for 100 breaths, Shaolin Yu took off all his clothes and then slowly stepped into the bathtub. Just like before, he sank his whole body into the medicinal decoction. Intense pain came from all parts of his body. He had already tried this process many times, so the pain could no longer torment him. He could also clearly feel that the quality of his body was improving in an orderly manner. 3 months later, the transformation was complete. His body's quality had reached the peak of the best quality magic tool level. In other words, no best quality magic tool could harm his body. However, less than half of the true dragon blood in the medicinal decoction was consumed, and the remaining half was still constantly drilling into his body. After the transformation was complete, Shaolin Yu should have come out of the bathtub, but he was reluctant to part with the true dragon blood. After all, the true dragon blood dissolved in the medicinal decoction could not be extracted again. In addition, he was looking forward to absorbing all the true dragon blood in the medicinal decoction. So he did not get up and leave the bathtub, but continued to lie in it calmly. Sure enough, as he expected, a large amount of true dragon blood entered his body and began to change Shaolin Yu's flesh and blood, causing his body to gradually turn into a true dragon. The true dragon blood completely entered Shaolin Yu's body, and finally caused his whole body to completely turn into a true dragon. The medicinal decoction had turned into a basin of clear water. Shaolin Yu got up from the medicinal decoction, put on his clothes, and walked out of the secret room. Finished the closed-door training? Lian Rong, who was guarding the entrance of the cave, asked with a little surprise. Originally, Lian Rong was prepared to wait for a few years, but in less than a year, Shaolin Yu had already finished his closed-door training, which made him a little incredulous. Only this true dragon blood is left. Shaolin Yu handed the jade bottle to Lian Rong, and then walked out of the cave. Lian Rong was stunned for a moment, and then a joyful expression appeared on his face. Then he caught up with Shaolin Yu, and handed over a storage bag, saying, "There are 5 million magic crystals here." Shaolin Yu was not polite. He took the storage bag, but only took out 3 million magic crystals, and then returned the storage bag. "My life is already yours. You can take all of these magic crystals." Lian Rong handed over the storage pouch once again. "Your life is still yours." Shaolin Yu shook his head. "This?" Lian Rong was stunned on the spot. "I'm very curious. What do you want the true dragon blood for it to be worthy of you recognizing others as your master?" Shaolin Yu touched his chin and asked. "To save lives." Lian Rong said solemnly. "That person must be very important to you, right?" Shaolin Yu asked again. "He is my elder brother." Lian Rong nodded and replied. "Now that you have the dragon blood, you should quickly go and save him." Shaolin Yu said calmly. But Lian Rong did not move for a long time. "What's wrong? The dragon blood is not enough?" Shaolin Yu tilted his head and asked. "It should be enough. But just the dragon blood is not enough. I need the help of an expert who is very familiar with the dragon blood." Lian Rong said awkwardly. "You mean, you want me to go and help?" Shaolin Yu frowned and asked. "I don't know if it is possible." Lian Rong nodded and asked. Shaolin Yu hesitated for a moment, and suddenly snatched the storage bag from Lian Rong's hand, saying, "This is the reward." Lian Rong was stunned again, and then he realized that the other party said so, which meant that he agreed to his request. He could not help but be overjoyed. After deciding on the plan, the two rushed to the location of the transmission array. After more than 10 transmission arrays, they stopped at a continent that was not very famous. My elder brother is on this continent. Out of the transmission array, Lian Rong glanced around, and then took Xiaoling Yu to fly southeast at full speed. After flying for 3 days, Lian Rong stopped at the foot of a big mountain and found a stone wall covered with vines. This stone wall looked very ordinary, at least with Xiaoling Yu's realm. He could not see anything unusual here. But under Lian Rong's spell and technique, a stone path appeared. The stone path sometimes went up and sometimes down, and it was winding. Along the way, there were many hidden restrictions blocking the way. The two took a full 2 hours to reach the end. At the end was a cave in the belly of the mountain. There was an altar in the center, surrounded by several stone pillars engraved with complicated spells. A blood-red coffin was lying quietly on the altar, giving a strange feeling. Your elder brother is inside? Xiaoling Yu pointed to the coffin and asked in surprise. That's right. He was severely injured. Moreover, he was hit by a high-level curse. He could only use these arrangements to suppress the curse and seal his heavily injured body. Only in this way could his life be temporarily preserved. Lian Rong nodded and explained. How do we save him? Xiaoling Yu asked. If he had high-quality true dragon blood when he was injured, it could be easily saved, but now he has been injured for tens of thousands of years, and his life is like a candle in the wind, which can be extinguished at any time. It is too difficult to save him. If we want to save him, we need to first undo the seal, but once the seal is undone, the high-level curse will immediately take effect. He may not be able to hold on, but no matter what, we have to try. Lian Rong first introduced, and then said, in a moment, I will undo the seal. You go to the altar, wait for the coffin to open, then inject the true dragon's blood into his body. The curse in his body was cast with the devil dragon's blood essence, and only high-quality true dragon's blood can remove it. However, high-quality true dragon's blood is not something that ordinary cultivators can bear, and he is also in a dying state, so when you inject the true dragon's blood into his body, you must control it well, otherwise, before the curse can eliminate his life, the true dragon's blood will kill him first. This is really difficult. Xiaoling Yu said with a frown. Do your best. If you can't save him, then forget it. Lian Rong sighed. Let's adjust our state first, then cast the spell. Xiaoling Yu agreed, and then began to close his eyes and adjust his breath. 3 days later, the two people had reached their best state. After getting up and looking at each other, Lian Rong began to inject seals into the altar, and Xiaoling Yu went to the altar, standing in front of the coffin that was only half the height of a person. After 10 breaths of time, the coffin lid suddenly flew away, and a burst of demonic qi gushed out from the coffin. Xiaoling Yu looked at the coffin with a solemn expression, but he saw a body that was almost completely rotten. He could feel that the life aura in this body was very weak, like a flower in the wind, it could wither at any time. After looking at it a few more times, Xiaoling Yu felt a vague and strange fluctuation in the rotten body, and he knew that it was a high-level curse. Xiaoling Yu also studied high-level curses, so he could clearly distinguish the operation route and method of this curse, which Lian Rong did not know. Start injecting the dragon blood. Lian Rong reminded loudly. Xiaoling Yu did not continue to watch, and immediately opened the jade bottle's cork. Wrapped in his mind, the dark golden true dragon blood slowly flowed into the rotten body. Xiaoling Yu was already considered to have the true dragon bloodline, and his body contained the true dragon blood, so he could easily control the dark golden true dragon blood, which Lian Rong did not know. Under Xiaoling Yu's control, the dark golden true dragon blood flowed to the place where the high-level curse was wreaking havoc, and it would absolutely not destroy the other party's body. At this time, Lian Rong also flew up and began to inject the liquid materials he had prepared, one by one, into the body. The broken body gradually recovered its vitality, and the flesh and blood quickly grew. After a cup of tea's time, the broken body had completely recovered, and the curse on the body was also completely removed. Chapter 324. His vitality was restored, and the curse was removed, but Lian Rong's brother still had his eyes closed, showing no signs of waking up. Both his soul and the demon infant are in a self-sealing state. We need to shake them fiercely to wake them up. Since his realm is much higher than mine, I don't think my level of soul attack will be enough to trigger that self-sealing state, Lian Rong explained with a bitter smile after checking her brother's physical condition. What realm is he in? Xiaoling Yu asked. The other party sealed his soul and demon infant, so Xiaoling Yu could not see what realm he was in. So he is at the peak of the late devil monarch realm. Lian Rong replied. If he is still in the late devil monarch realm, I can try to wake him up. Xiaoling Yu said indifferently. Then I'll have to trouble you. Lian Rong said happily. Get out of the way. Xiaoling Yu waited for Lian Rong to retreat, then shouted and slapped the coffin. Suddenly, the sky full of palm shadows raged in the cave, and in a flash, all of them poured into the coffin. The demon infant splitting palm could penetrate a cultivator's body, shaking their soul and demon infant. With Xiaoling Yu's current strength, his demon infant splitting palm could not kill a late devil monarch expert, especially when the other party sealed his soul and demon infant. Although it could not kill, it would definitely shake him. After the palm shadows dissipated from the coffin, the cultivator lying in the coffin suddenly sat up, and spat out a blood arrow. With his soul and demon infant shaken, Lian Rong's brother immediately woke up from his self-sealing state, and after seeing Xiaoling Yu, he directly slapped his palm over. The palm of a late devil monarch expert naturally carried a very strong momentum. Xiaoling Yu did not expect to be attacked, and at this time, it was too late to dodge, so he could only use his palm to meet it. With a loud bang, Xiaoling Yu was sent flying from the altar. Lian Rong's elder brother also quickly retreated with the coffin in his hand. Xiaoling Yu retreated less than 10 feet, and had already stabilized his body, but the coffin fiercely hit the stone wall next to him. Xiaoling Yu, whose bloodline had been completely dragonized, was definitely not inferior to any demon lord cultivator in terms of physical strength. Brother, stop. He is our benefactor. Lian Rong entered the cave and loudly reminded. Benefactor? At this time, Lian Rong's brother had already left the coffin and put on a long gown for himself. He frowned and looked at Xiaoling Yu. That's right, elder brother. It was this benefactor who cast the spell to save you. Lian Rong flew in front of her brother, pointed at Xiaoling Yu, and said with a little excitement. Really? Lian Rong's brother asked. It's absolutely true. Not only did he give the true dragon's blood, he also personally acted to save him. In the end, it was he who used his technique to awaken elder brother. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to save elder brother. Lian Rong nodded and replied. Then I was too reckless just now. Lian Rong's brother patted his head, and flew in front of Xiaoling Yu with a very vexed look. He cupped his fist and bowed, and said, I can't repay the kindness of saving my life. In the future, whenever benefactor needs Lian Bai will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Brother Lian, please rise. It's just a slight effort, not worth mentioning. Xiaoling Yu helped him up and said with a smile, you should thank your brother Lian Rong the most. He suffered a lot in order to save you. Lian Rong also flew over, shook his head and said, he is my brother. Everything I did for him is what I should do. There's no need to thank me. Lian Bai laughed and patted his brother's shoulder with relief. The gratitude on his face was difficult to conceal, but he didn't say anything. Now that everything is over, I should go. Xiaoling Yu was about to leave, but said to Lian Rong, come, I'll lift the soul restriction. Hearing this, Lian Rong naturally wouldn't refuse and immediately released the mental defense. The restriction was planted by Xiaoling Yu, so it was naturally easy to lift it. Xiaoling Yu felt that Lian Rong was definitely a good person since he was willing to pay such a price to save his brother. There was no need for him to control his soul. The reason why he planted the restriction before was to ensure absolute safety during the transformation of his body. Now that the transformation of his body had been completed and his strength had taken a step forward, even if these two brothers attacked him, they may not be able to keep him here. Great kindness, no need to say this. I have other things to do, so I won't stay any longer. Xiao Yu waved and said, "Benefactor, where are you going? If you need any help, please don't forget us brothers. We don't have any good places to go at the moment, so we can follow Benefactor and contribute to Benefactor." Lian Bai said sincerely. Xiao Yu was about to leave directly, but when he heard Lian Bai's words, he suddenly had a thought and said, "Are you really willing to follow me?" Lian Bai replied, "As long as Benefactor has orders, we brothers will do our best." Obviously, these two brothers were people who knew how to repay kindness. After thinking for a while, Xiao Yu said, "Actually, I have a bandit group that just happens to be short of a demon monarch. If you two are really willing to follow me, you can help me command that bandit group." "Very good. The two of us used to be leaders of a bandit group, but unfortunately, we were besieged by a large number of powerhouses during a robbery. It was also at that time that I was seriously injured and our bandit group was almost wiped out. Now that we have joined a bandit group, it can be said that we have returned to our old profession," Lian Bai said straightforwardly. "In that case, let's set off together." After Xiao Yu's words fell, he took the two brothers to the transmission array. Xiao Yu had previously discussed with Xiao Liang, Zhu Jin, and the others. Although he couldn't contact the heavenly bandits, he knew that he could definitely find them. After chasing them for 2 years and crossing nearly 10,000 continents of the demon realm, Xiao Yu's trio finally caught up with the heavenly bandits. At this time, the heavenly bandits were stationed in a dense forest, and from everyone's tranquil expression, it could be seen that they had been living well recently. Just as he introduced Lian Rong and Lian Bai to Zhu Jin and the other higher-ups of the heavenly bandits, Lian Bai suddenly frowned and said, "Chief, it seems that a demon monarch expert is flying towards us, and his divine sense is circling around us. Have you provoked a demon monarch expert recently?" Xiao Yu asked Zhu Jin. "No, we haven't. If we had provoked a demon monarch, how could we stay here safely?" Zhu Jin shook his head and replied. "He has arrived," Lian Bai said with narrowed eyes. Sure enough, in less than 10 breaths of time, a cultivator wearing a black robe and a cloak on his head flew to the sky above the heavenly bandits' encampment. Although he couldn't see the other party's face, Xiao Yu could clearly feel that the other party's demon sense was firmly locked onto him. Xiao Yu didn't remember when he had offended such a person, so he frowned and was very suspicious. "I'm only here for him. If the rest of you don't want to die, then get the hell out of here." The black-robed cultivator pointed at Xiao Yu and shouted loudly. "Humph! Do you think you're a demon monarch of the demon realm? You think you can do whatever you want?" Lian Bai took a step forward and coldly said. "A late-stage demon monarch is indeed qualified to stand up and speak. But if that's all you have, you'd better back off early lest you lose your life." While speaking indifferently, the person's aura surged and reached the peak of the late-stage demon monarch realm in the blink of an eye. The newcomer's realm was actually higher than Lian Bai's. Moreover, Lian Bai had just recovered and had been injured for many years. He shouldn't be able to defeat an ordinary late-stage demon monarch cultivator, let alone a peak late-stage demon monarch. "I'll give you 10 breaths of time. If you don't want to die, get the hell out of here. After 10 breaths of time, this old man will act." The newcomer shouted full of energy. "May I ask if we have any enmity?" Xiao Yu asked with a calm expression. "No enmity, but your life is mine today," the newcomer said with a sneer. "To tell you the truth, ever since I started cultivating, there have been many people who wanted to take my life, but they all lost their lives in the end," Xiao Yu said calmly. 10 breaths of time have passed. Since you all want to die, this old man will fulfill your wish." The newcomer seemed to have run out of patience. With a flick of his sleeve, a sharp sword-like demonic light descended from the sky. "Sword intent." Xiao Yu was shocked. The 6 demon-suppressing immoral pearls immediately flew into the air along with a group of primal chaos seals. Lian Rong and Lian Bai also acted at the same time to help Xiao Yu resist the demonic light. But when all the demonic light fell, Xiao Yu's trio could only block more than half of it. A small part of the demonic light fell on the heavenly bandits group of cultivators and directly killed nearly 200 bandits. How could bandits below the Demon Monarch realm block the attack of a late-stage Demon Monarch expert? He's a sword Dao expert, Lian Bai said in surprise. He also felt the sharp sword intent contained in the other party's demonic light. Then, everyone saw a blood-colored sword appear in the newcomer's hand and a powerful sword aura enveloped the whole place. Everyone, scatter! Xiaoling Yu shouted and then took out the silver moon broken blade, and his primal chaos demonic force madly gushed out of his body. A peak late-stage demon monarch was already extremely difficult to deal with, and coupled with the fact that the other party was a sword Dao cultivator, his strength was bound to be even more terrifying. Peerless demonic sword. After the newcomer shouted, the sword in his hand suddenly issued a sword cry. Then, countless blood-colored sword lights flew out from the demonic sword and hovered in the air for a moment before falling down. The bandits, who were still hesitating, looked at the deadly sword lights and fled in all directions at full speed. Xiaoling Yu first shot out another primal chaos demonic seal, and then the silver moon broken blade in his hand shot out a colorful firebird. The two attacks completely scattered the sword lights above his head. With Lian Rong and Lian Bai joining forces, they were able to easily block those sword lights. However, everyone's face was very gloomy because the newcomer's strength was too strong. They could barely protect themselves, so how could they retreat or destroy the enemy? Charge and kill! After Lian Bai calmed down, he held a black spear and flew into the sky. Above his head, the blood-colored coffin helped him open a path. Chapter 325. A Disciple of Dragons? Seeing the dark golden dragon hovering in the air, the man exclaimed in surprise. Dragons were very powerful existences in all the realms, and almost no one dared to provoke them. However, dragon cultivators rarely appeared outside and generally gathered together. Everyone knew that it was very difficult for human cultivators to transform into monsters. Only monster race experts could freely change between their human form and their true form. Therefore, at this moment, the man naturally regarded Xiaoling Yu as a disciple of dragons rather than a human expert who had transformed into a dragon. Xiaoling Yu's bloodline was as noble as the five-clawed golden dragon super divine beast, and he also had chaos devil force. Although the man was at the peak of the late-stage demon monarch realm, it was still difficult for him to pry into the secrets of Xiaoling Yu's body. While the man was in a daze, Lian Bai had already rushed to the front and smashed the coffin. Feeling the wind blowing against his face, the man suddenly came back to his senses. The demon sword in his hand suddenly flashed with dazzling sword light and slashed at the coffin in front of him. After a loud explosion, the seemingly solid coffin was directly split into two by the demon sword. After the demon sword split the coffin, it shot out a sharp sword light and arrived in front of Lian Bai in the blink of an eye. Lian Bai shook the long spear in his hand and countless spear shadows rushed out like ghosts. The spear shadows sometimes turned into ghosts and sometimes turned into straight black spears, but when they rushed in front of the sword light, they were all shaken and scattered. However, the sword light's power weakened as a result and was scattered by the black spear in Lian Bai's hand when it arrived in front of him. However, the opponent's simple slash forced Lian Bai to use 3 moves in a row and even destroyed the coffin. It could be seen that the strength of the man was far beyond Lian Bai. Even though they were both at the late-stage demon monarch realm, the gap between the two was still a bit big. Formless demon dragon palm. Xiaoling Yu transformed into a dragon and arrived in the sky at this time. His dragon claw fiercely slammed towards the man. However, what surprised Xiaoling Yu was that when his dragon claw was less than 3 feet away from the other party, it actually shone with a bloody light. The other party's entire body was also bursting with a bloody light. At this moment, Xiaoling Yu finally understood why the other party wanted to take her life. It turned out that the other party also possessed the life essence of the demon sovereign and was here to steal her life essence. The other party's cultivation level was much higher than Xiaoling Yu's, so he could sense Xiaoling Yu's presence and rushed over. It was precisely because this person was certain that his cultivation level was higher than Xiaoling Yu's that he dared to attack Xiaoling Yu without being able to see through Xiaoling Yu's true strength. The newcomer did not care that there was a bloody glow on his body. At this moment, he felt that there was a vast and mighty dragon's might enveloping the sky with strong winds. He only frowned slightly and waved the demon sword in his hand gently, thrusting it towards the top of his head in a simple manner. Ding! The demonic sword pierced the scales of the dragon claw's palm, and the two produced a sharp and crisp sound. Humph! Break for me! The newcomer shouted loudly. The demonic sword in his hand suddenly shone brighter and actually moved a little higher. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his palm. Xiaoling Yu, who had transformed into a dragon, hurriedly retracted his dragon claw. He clearly felt that his scales, which were comparable to a quasi-divine artifact, had been pierced by the demonic sword. Moreover, waves of terrifying sword energy surged into his body from the wound, along his meridians, and rushed to every part of his body. The sword energy continued to destroy Xiaoling Yu's meridians along the way. However, Xiaoling Yu's meridians were also very strong. The collision of the sword energy only made him feel as if his entire body was being pierced by needles. It was unable to cause him any serious damage. Xiaoling Yu retracted his palm quickly, so not too much sword energy poured into his body. Although sword energy was of a higher grade than demonic power, it was still inferior to primal chaos demonic power. He only needed to mobilize a little bit of his power to suppress the sword energy. The newcomer wanted to continue attacking, but at this time, the brothers Lian Bai and Lian Rong joined forces to attack. A long spear and a meteor hammer smashed towards him. He could only give up chasing Xiaoling Yu and swept the demonic sword in his hand in front of him. A crescent-shaped mighty sword momentum, like a raging wave, shook the two demonic artifacts of high quality and sent them flying. First Master, run away first. We brothers will join forces to block him. Lian Bai knew that the newcomer's strength was too strong, so he kindly shouted to Xiaoling Yu. Roar! Xiaoling Yu did not reply. Instead, he let out a furious roar and threw another dragon fist at the person who had just arrived. He used his actions to tell the brothers that he would not put his own people in danger just for his own life. Moreover, Xiaoling Yu knew that even if he chose to escape, he may not be able to escape. It would be very difficult for the brothers to block the newcomer alone. If the Lian Bai duo were to go all out to buy time for Xiaoling Yu to escape, the two of them would most likely die here. Even if they could let Xiaoling Yu escape safely, Xiaoling Yu would still feel guilty. Although Xiaoling Yu was not an indecisive person, he was definitely not an unrighteous person. Is that all you've got? Looking at the meteor-like dragon fist falling from the sky, the newcomer's mouth showed a disdainful smile. He was still floating in the same place, motionless. The demonic sword in his hands seemed to be waving lightly, but it had the power of a thunderbolt. Another crisp sound of metal and stone colliding rang out. Xiaoling Yu's dragon fist had a piece of scale broken, but this time Xiaoling Yu was experienced and withdrew his dragon fist early, not giving the opponent's sword a chance to invade his body. The gap between the two sides was too big. Even though Xiaoling Yu had improved his strength with auxiliary techniques, some gaps could not be made up for. Run away! Xiaoling Yu knew that he could not defeat the newcomer, so he shouted to Lian Bai and Rong Rong. The newcomer was coming for Xiaoling Yu. If he ran away, the newcomer would only chase him and not the others. The newcomer was still full of strength and had not launched any big moves. Xiaoling Yu's trio, on the other hand, were already going all out. The strength of the two sides was not on the same level, so it was meaningless to continue fighting. After Xiaoling Yu shouted, two silver wings suddenly appeared on his dragon body. Then, his whole body flashed with silver light and he fled to the distance. Lian Bai and Lian Rong glanced at each other, but instead of running away, they attacked the newcomer even more vigorously. Obviously, the two brothers wanted to buy time for Xiaoling Yu to escape. They were the kind of people who knew how to repay kindness. Get lost! The newcomer naturally would not watch Xiaoling Yu escape. He shouted angrily and waved the demon sword in his hand in front of him, sending two balls of light flying towards Lian Bai and Rong Rong Rong. Lian Bai and Rong 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 immediately resisted with all their strength, bombarding the two balls of light with their demon treasures. But who would have thought that after being hit, the two balls of light would suddenly explode and turn into sword lights that filled the sky and rushed in from all directions at the same time. In an instant, Lian Bai and Rong 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 were completely surrounded by sword lights. When the two of them tried their best to block all the sword lights, they found that the newcomer had disappeared. Lian Bai and Rong 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 knew that the newcomer had gone to chase Xiaoling Yu, so they also chased in the direction that Xiaoling Yu had fled. But even after chasing for a long time, they still could not catch up. They knew that Xiaoling Yu must have changed directions midway. They had been chasing in a straight line, so naturally, they could not catch up. I don't know where First Master has fled to, Lian Bai said with a frown. Let's send a message to Zhu Jin and Xiao Liang and let them chase after him together. This way, we can find him faster, Lian Rong also replied with a dignified expression. Xiaoling Yu had indeed changed directions continuously. After all, he was running away, so only a fool would keep changing directions. But he was not familiar with this continent, and his speed was not as fast as the other party. This kind of escape was hopeless. However, Xiaoling Yu was not without a way. His last successful escape experience told him that he should escape in the direction of the big city next to the transmission array. But this time, the person chasing him was much stronger than the Demon King who had chased him last time. He was able to escape last time, but this time was not necessarily the case. After transforming into a dragon, Xiaoling Yu's original speed was much faster. But even with the help of the wings of extreme speed, the distance between him and the other party was constantly closing. Ha, kid, you can't escape. Just obediently surrender and I'll leave your corpse intact. The person's carefree laughter reverberated through the space of the demon realm behind him. Xiaoling Yu did not respond. When the other party was about to close in, he threw a magic treasure that he had obtained from killing people behind him and directly detonated it. The power of the explosion of a top-grade magic treasure was naturally not weak. Even though the person was very strong, he did not dare to take it head-on. When he waved his magic sword to block it, his speed naturally slowed down. Xiaoling Yu took the opportunity to open up the distance and prepared another top-grade magic treasure. After he detonated all the magic treasures that he could not use, he was still quite a distance away from the transmission array. He could only use the silver moon broken blade to attack with the colorful firebird. Xiaoling Yu had already retracted his formless gigantic magic art. His own strength had decreased by a lot, but he could conserve the power in the blood crystals. But in the end, when the transmission array was just in front of him, the person had already blocked his path. Do you think you can escape? The person laughed disdainfully. Then, a wave of sword aura immediately enveloped the entire area, sealing off all of Xiaoling Yu's escape routes. Xiaoling Yu glanced at the tall city wall and calmed down a little. He gathered all the energy in his body and continued to charge forward. However, due to the suppression of the sword aura, his speed seemed to be very slow. Still not giving up? The person immediately waved the magic sword in his hand and slashed out streaks of sword light. Xiaoling Yu let the 6 demon-suppressing immoral orbs revolve around him. At the same time, he waved the silver moon broken blade in his hand to block. However, he could only block part of the sword light. The other part of the sword light ruthlessly slashed his body. When the sword light hit Xiaoling Yu, the person could not help but let out a low cry. Because the sword light was actually blocked by the other party. Enduring the pain all over his body, Xiaoling Yu moved closer to the transmission array plaza. Relying on his body, which had just transformed into a peak top-grade magic artifact, Xiaoling Yu was able to take on the other party's attack, which was comparable to a pseudo-divine artifact. Although he was able to take it, he would not be able to do so for long. Moreover, as he was doing so, sword wounds appeared all over his body. Blood stained his entire body and streams of sword energy flowed into his body. Chapter 326. Relying on his strong willpower and his body's strong resistance, Xiaoling Yu forced his way to the city gate. It was not that the person did not have a powerful enough ultimate move to kill Xiaoling Yu on the spot, but the ultimate move that could kill Shaolin Yu was completely destructive. Once it was activated, it was very likely that Shaolin Yu would be completely annihilated. In that case, how could he absorb Shaolin Yu's life essence? He was afraid that using an ultimate move would directly destroy his opponent, but ordinary moves would not be able to incapacitate his opponent. The person could only watch as his opponent dragged his bruised and battered body slowly into the large city. He also wanted to get closer and imprison his opponent's body, but he was also worried that he would be injured. After all, with his experience, he could see that the broken saber in his opponent's hand was of an extremely high grade. Furthermore, Shaolin Yu's performance had already caused the person to stop underestimating him. The person felt that even if his opponent was heavily injured, he would definitely still have some powerful moves. The reality was as such. Even a late-stage demonic monarch sword cultivator would find it difficult to gain the upper hand against Shaolin Yu in close combat. After entering the large city, Shaolin Yu took a few healing pills for himself. As he continued to advance, his mind was on high alert. The person naturally would not give up on pursuing Shaolin Yu just because he had entered the city. Instead, he very calmly followed Shaolin Yu into the city, maintaining a distance of 50 to 60 feet from Shaolin Yu. As he was heavily injured and was still recovering from the effects of the pills, Shaolin Yu's pace was not fast. His tattered clothes, body covered in sword wounds, and blood attracted the attention of many passers-by. Perhaps they had sensed the thick smell of blood and killing intent on Shaolin Yu's body, but wherever he passed, the passers-by in front of him quickly moved aside and stood on both sides of the road, staring at him until his figure disappeared into the crowd. Once you enter the city, you won't be able to escape. The person's voice entered Shaolin Yu's ears again. Shaolin Yu ignored him and continued to walk slowly towards the center of the city. Just like last time, he wanted to enter the bounty hunter branch to issue a mission. Not long after, a group of city guards brushed past Shaolin Yu, but they were stopped by the sword cultivator. I'll have to trouble the few of you to deliver this jade token to Commander Lei. Just say that an old friend wishes to meet him. Take these magic crystals and have some wine. The man said politely as he stuffed a jade tablet and a few magic crystals into the hands of a city guard who seemed to be the leader. Seeing that the person who had come was so generous and sensing the strong aura from the person who had come, the city guard nodded his head repeatedly. He allowed the other city guards to continue their patrol while he quickly left. The person did not waste any time and caught up with Shaolin Yu. However, a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Shaolin Yu also heard the conversation between the person and the city guard. Other than quickening her pace, there was nothing else she could do. After walking for another hour, Shaolin Yu, who was walking quickly, was suddenly bumped into by a cultivator. That cultivator was running forward at an extremely fast speed. Shaolin Yu's attention had been on the sword cultivator Demon Lord, so he did not have time to dodge. Don't you have eyes when you walk? What Shaolin Yu did not expect was that the cultivator did not stop in time and bumped into him, but that cultivator actually scolded him loudly. Shaolin Yu only smiled slightly and cupped his fists. Then I'll apologize. With that, Shaolin Yu directly went around and continued forward. Unexpectedly, that cultivator caught up with him and grabbed Shaolin Yu's sleeve. He shouted, "You want to leave just like that after bumping into someone?" Shaolin Yu was angry, but he did not get angry. Instead, he took out a few supreme-grade demon stones and said, "These demon stones are my apology." Shaolin Yu did not want to cause trouble, but the other party did not stop pestering her. The other party directly threw the supreme-grade demon stones at Shaolin Yu. Then, he half-squatted and spread his legs. He said, "If you crawl under my crotch and shout 'Grandpa, I'm wrong' 3 times, this matter will be over." Ridiculous. Shaolin Yu snorted coldly and did not bother with that cultivator anymore. With a flick of her sleeve, she flung the cultivator's hand away and continued forward. Shaolin Yu did not use much strength when she flung her arm, but that cultivator let out a miserable cry and flew backward. It looked like he had suffered a heavy blow. After landing, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. City guard, someone attacked in the city, everyone saw it. After he bumped into me, he attacked me again. That cultivator did not get up. He sat on the ground and shouted like a shrew. Xiaoling Yu naturally ignored him. He thought that the city guards would not care about such a small matter. After all, he did not really attack just now. However, he was wrong. A team of more than 20 city guard experts rushed over and surrounded Xiaoling Yu. Among these city guards, there was no demon lord. The highest cultivation was only at the early stage mystic demon. With their strength, they naturally could not surround Xiaoling Yu. However, they represented the city lord's mansion. In Xiaoling Yu's current state, he did not dare to attack these city guards. That cultivator got up and ran to the city guards to complain about Xiaoling Yu's crime. He was almost in tears. Everyone saw the truth just now. Everyone's eyes are clear as snow. Xiaoling Yu looked at that cultivator with contempt and said calmly, "Who can prove it?" The city guard, who seemed to be the leader, narrowed his eyes and looked around. The cultivators who were originally surrounding the area all turned their heads and left one after another. This matter did not concern them. "Let it go. Since no one can prove it, then both of you will come with me," the city guard leader said with a fair and just look. At this moment, Xiaoling Yu's sharp eyes discovered that the cultivator who had stirred up trouble just now clearly had a smug expression. From this, it could be seen that he was either not afraid of the city guards or had ulterior motives. Xiaoling Yu looked at that sword cultivator demon lord again and also saw the smug expression in his eyes. Looks like he colluded with the city guards to scheme against me. If I go with this city guard, I probably won't have a good time. Xiaoling Yu hesitated. If he did not go with the city guards, these city guards would definitely forcefully detain him. If he attacked, he would definitely attract the attacks of even more city guard experts. In his current state, it was impossible for him to fight his way out of the city. Even if he did, he would still have to face the pursuit of that sword cultivator demon lord. What are you waiting for? Follow him. Seeing that Xiaoling Yu was not moving, the city guard leader shouted at Xiaoling Yu with a cold expression. Xiaoling Yu had no choice but to nod and follow the city guard team. All large cities had city guards, and the city guards usually lived and cultivated in the city guard camp. They also handled some small matters in the camp. Only some major matters in the city would be settled by the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion naturally would not interfere in ordinary trivial matters. Xiaoling Yu followed the city guard team into the camp and came to a 3-story stone building. This 3-story stone building was not tall, but it was very long. There were many individual rooms on each floor. Xiaoling Yu was brought to one of the rooms on the 3rd floor. "Wait here first. Someone will come to investigate this matter in a while." After the city guard finished speaking, he left the room and closed the door. In less than 2 breaths of time after the door was closed, the 4 walls of the room suddenly shone with light, and the patterns of restrictions and talismans appeared at the same time. "Not good!" Xiaoling Yu exclaimed in a low voice and pushed the door again, but it was pushed open by an extremely powerful force. In an instant, the silver moon broken blade appeared in his hand again and slashed at the door. However, just as the silver moon broken blade was about to touch the door, it suddenly stopped. "If I attack the door of the city guard camp, those city guards will definitely swarm over. This is not appropriate." Xiaoling Yu put away the silver moon broken blade and muttered. Just as Xiaoling Yu was hesitating, the sword cultivator demon lord had also arrived at the city guard camp. In a secret room, he sat opposite a city guard expert who also had the cultivation of demon lord. There was a table between the two of them, and on the table, there were some fruits and wine. "It has been many years since we last met. Brother Feng is actually about to break through to the demon lord level. Congratulations." The city guard expert raised his cup and smiled. "Brother Liu is not bad either. Although you are still a little far from the emperor level, you have already reached the middle stage of the demon lord level in less than 10 million years. Your progress can be considered fast." The sword cultivator surnamed Feng also raised his wine cup and said politely. The two of them drank their cups in satisfaction. The city guard expert put down his wine cup and asked as he poured the wine, "I heard that Brother Feng said before you went into seclusion that you would not come out until you reached the Emperor level. Why did you suddenly come out when you were about to break through?" The sword cultivator surnamed Feng said vaguely, "There are some things that I need to deal with. Otherwise, my seclusion will be delayed, and I will have no chance to deal with them if I fail to break through." The city guard expert laughed and said, "With Brother Feng's talent, how can you fail to break through? However, I heard from the brothers at the city gate that Brother Feng entered the city because he was chasing that person. I saw that person just now. Although I felt that he was a little strange, he didn't seem to be very strong." The sword cultivator surnamed Feng said mysteriously, "Brother Liu, you have misjudged him. If he wasn't very strong, how could he escape into the city under my pursuit?" The city guard expert was stunned at first. Then, he said, "Brother Feng, although we have a good relationship, if the city lord knows that I helped you like this," the sword cultivator surnamed Feng interrupted and said, "If we don't say anything, how will that old guy know?" The city guard expert shook his head and said, "Although I am the city guard commander, not all of the city guards are my people. The city lord's mansion has many spies watching over here." The sword cultivator surnamed Feng still smiled. Then, he threw a jade box on the table and said, "The last time I went out to travel, I happened to obtain a demonic stone. I used half of it when refining the sword. Now, I have half left. I will give it to you as a token of appreciation for your help this time." Demonic stone? Is it really the demonic stone that can nurture the spirituality of magic treasures? The city guard expert hurriedly opened the box, looking very excited. "You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.